Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you're here. Welcome back to another video.
Yes,
I
another
wish,
one.
I wish upon a star that this was actually not as bad as it was, but here we are.
Well, we shall see.
I'm a poet, didn't know it. Was not trying to rhyme. And yeah, so there's very little good news in the world these days, so I guess we're gonna have more bad news and call it a good news, I guess. Whatever the case might be. So, that being said, we're gonna just jump into it. So, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Share with people. Let's make the questioners great again, and actually relevant at all would be nice. But there you go.
I mean, that's
I know
relevant.
it's asking a lot. I get it. I get it. It's asking a lot. But I am trying to do. If you guys haven't been keeping up too much, I have been trying to make some good reviews for games that I like playing or content that I enjoy that I think are good. To balance a little bit. I mean, it's not very in favor of it at the moment because there's so much bad crap coming out. But I want to have some good stuff in there as well. But it's difficult to find time to sit down and just record multiple hours of a game. So at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I mean, if this was my full time job, that's one thing. It's not my full time job. So I have a couple videos. Like I think I did the Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing Final Cut, which is the trilogy all in one. Um, I also have all three individually because they're really good. Sadly, they did cut down they cut off the online function, but there might be a way to access it separately. I don't know. A modder, I'm assuming, could probably come up with a fix for that. But it's a fun game regardless, even if you're playing single player. The co-op was also really fun about it, and the kind of like horde mode waves and like tower defense version of it was also pretty fun too. But that's your quick rendition of that. And I did another one. I'm trying to remember what it was off the top of my head, or I think I did another one. Maybe I didn't yet. What did I do? Maybe I have another one planned. I don't remember. But either way, they're like short, like 15 minutes, trying to like comment on the music, the story, the voice acting, the general feel of gameplay, things that are fun and whatnot. But you can go check that out on the channel. Videos that have come out recently. But here we are, and we have a bit of a doozy. So, you ready, Sage?
Maybe.
This is, I will point out, like the 50th time we've tried to get this to work because we were having so many technical issues, and we finally got them fixed.
Indeed, yes.
So, here we go.
Let's hope they will remain fixed.
Yes, they better. Actually, I'm trying to remember. Did we ever test this?
No, we did not.
Oh, I'm gonna hate my life.
But let's hope it works. Yeah.
Well, it's picking up sound, so I'm gonna say it's working. All right, so here we go. The video of the hour, which is anti-woke gamers being shallow man babies, and I found this video of somebody else reacting to this person reacting to somebody.
Okay. Wait. What?
Yes. So I am reacting to this person reacting to somebody without the first original person I found. I just wanted to see
The video.
I'd say her, it, whatever this being is. They're called Emma, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not non-binary. Apparently, because I'm non-binary, but I'm going to use a female name. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, to be fair, there aren't really many gender-neutral names, are there?
You know why? Real. But
Yeah,
that's a
true.
story. I identify as non-binary when it comes to buying things that I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not identify with whatever nonsense this is. So, here we go.
Look at how they massacred Harley by making her walk like a normal person. Women do not walk.
I'd like to point out before she gets here, like we had mentioned this earlier,
Mm-hmm.
the texture for the 2015
Oh yeah.
is way better than the 2024 by a landslide. It's
Indeed.
not even comparable. So it means they're really bad at their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the nature of it.
like this.
DEI ensures less.
I mean, you just did. So if you are a woman, which by
Wait a
speaking
moment.
you are, you do. And not all the time, but you do that. You women are weird in their own way. Men are weird too, but
I'm
that's-
curious.
I know, right? We don't do this. Proceeds to do the thing that they say they do.
Mm-hmm.
Competent employees will be hired on for
So I believe November Hotel is the person she is reacting to. I'm going to say she because I'm not going to piss around with this. So she
Sure.
is.
I'll just use he
One.
then.
Yeah, she. That's what I say. She. But she's reacting to November Hotel, who, from what I understand, is a base YouTuber. I don't know anything about him. I've never seen any of his stuff that I can recall, like from my memory actively. Maybe I stumbled across one at one point in time, but this is my only knowledge of him through her, which is not necessarily a good thing.
the job.
That's not true. Like seeing a workforce that is more racially diverse and assuming that the people of colour aren't as highly skilled as the white people, that's just racism.
Only if it's not because of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Well, also we have things like what's the Obama thing?
I don't know what that is supposed to mean.
There's what is it called? Shoot. It's a thing where basically you have to hire so many black people or something.
Oh yeah. Okay, so that's DEI.
It's DAI, but it was before DEI. No. It starts with an A. It was like equal
rights.
Equal chance of upper.
I don't fucking know.
It starts with, I can't remember. I just had it and it just went. Whoosh. But no, that's gone again.
No, okay.
Yeah, gummit. But basically, there's this thing where basically somebody has to go in. They have to have so many of a variety of people. You can't just have meritocracy. You have to actually have.
And that's DEI.
Well, that's what DEI ends up becoming.
Well, specifically the D.
This is prior to DEI, so I'm trying to see if I can figure it out and pull it up before I go insane because I'm really trying hard, guys. Because I do not know what's going on. Gosh, what's it called? Keep talking. Keep me busy.
Okay, sure. So what she's objecting to in this case is that if you see a diverse workforce and you assume that it means that the white people are more better, let's say, in a normal world, that of course would indeed be racism if you did. But the key difference here is that we have all these DEI initiatives that make sure that you have to have certain amounts of black people. And that means that for certain jobs, you have people disregarded who are not part of the checkboxes that you need to do. So let's do a quick statistics example. Let's say you have 10 people that show up for a job, 3 of which are black, for example. Let's just assume that's the divide in population between those two groups, 70%, 30%. If you then have pure meritocracy, right? And of those 10 people, one is obviously going to be the best. If you look for the best one among them and find them, then you have the best guy for the job. But if you were to preemptively stop 70% of those people from applying, you only have a 30% chance that you actually end up with the best person. So a 70% chance to not get the best person for the job. Because, well, obviously there's a 70% chance that it's one of the people you don't include in the whole thing. If in the short term, that's not going to be that much of a problem, but long term, you will definitely see a decline in general competence between the various divides. Because it's just statistics. You end up with a less qualified group. So have you found it yet, or?
I have not found it, and I don't know why I'm struggling to find it because it was been used for years and years, and it just when DEI came out, it basically was gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
It's the practice. It's the practice of which you need to hire minorities as a percentage of your workforce.
Mhm.
Somebody can leave it in the comments. I don't know why I'm struggling with this, but we haven't talked about it forever, and it's just basically what DEI is now.
Mhm.
So instead of
So-
hiring somebody who is actually has merit to their skills, and then them being minorities,
Mhm.
it's not racism to say, these guys have the credentials. Let them
Mhm.
work here. Like, that's fine. It's not racism to say, I don't know if they deserve to be here because they were not hired based off of their skill. They were hired because the law forced us to hire them.
Mhm.
Those are two very, very different things.
And guess what? Hiring people based on the color of their skin, so let's say they're black, that is just racism. Wow.
Read the subtitles. That's just
Exactly.
racism, guys. That's what it is. Hiring somebody because of their immutable characteristics, specifically speaking related to skin color or ethnicity, is racist.
Because
You
it definitionally excludes people with other
meritocracy. Yeah, with
skin
characteristics.
colors. Yeah.
Yeah. So meritocracy does not hire based upon skin color. They don't say, you're white, you're hired. No, meritocracy specifically says, do you have the skills that we are looking for?
Mhm.
Yes, you're hired. No, get out of here. That's literally that simple. You don't have to go into this big, huge world of, oh, it's racism, it's homophobia, it's transphobia, it's misogyny, it's blah, 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 whatever the case might be. You just say, do you have the qualifications? Yes. Somebody else also has the qualifications. Which one of you is more qualified and is asking more reasonable hiring fees for this? That's how the workplace is supposed to balance things out, because they don't want to hire you just because you have qualifications. Like, let's say Sage and I show up to the same place, and it's a tech firm or whatever the case might be.
Yeah. So
Whatever
you're
the
out
field is.
essentially, right? Immediately.
You what?
So you're immediately out already.
Knock yourself out. But anyway, Minecraft. But we're both show up, and we both have our credentials or whatever. Let's say hypothetically, I have slightly higher qualifications, and I'm talking like probably not even really they're noticeable, but I'm asking for like 3 times what Sage is asking for. My qualifications
because
are
I'm relatively humble, so
well, you're European, so that doesn't exactly make sense. But okay, um, but I'm only slightly above in terms of qualifications because of I have an extra. Let's say I have an extra license or licensing type thing or whatever the certification,
Yeah.
and I can do slightly more, not enough to be worth 3 times the cost. Well, they're not going to look at me and say, well, his qualifications are better, hire him. They're going to say his qualifications are there, but he's also asking for 3 times what this other guy's asking. So the merit, they both have merit. They both can do essentially the same job we want them to do, because arguably one of the certifications I have might not be, like the one that puts me over the edge, might not be something that's even related to the job that they want me to do. So they can just be like, well, we'll go with Sage because Sage has got the requirements, the certifications and everything. He qualified and he's cheaper. Boom. I don't recall his skin color being brought up at all in that conversation because it
Mhm.
wasn't. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Now, is it possible that the hiring director or executive or whoever they are looks at us and says, oh, you're white, so I will consider you. And then if somebody who shows up is not white and they say, I'm not going to consider you, and they just hide it really well, is that possible? Yes. It happens at every
Sure,
job
yeah.
to some extent in every industry, because I've had people not hire me because I'm a guy. I've had people fire me because I'm a guy. Like, it's out there. People will discriminate against you. It's the way that things is. Are.
Yes,
Sorry.
English.
The Italian was coming out. I couldn't stop it. But
I have that issue as well, but with Dutch.
yeah, I was gonna say not Italian. But things are that way. But that's why I'm not against. That's why I'm not against. That's why I am against anti-discrimination laws, is because it just lets people hide. They hide in plain sight. Now they can still hide if they are there or aren't there, but people are more open about it because they're not going to get sued, they're not going to get taken to court or whatever. But at least you know how people are going to behave. You say, yeah, these people are blatantly racist because they wouldn't hire me because I was white, or because I was a man, or because of whatever my immutable characteristics I can't change. It has nothing to do with my qualifications. Now, if somebody comes in, let's say a black person comes in, they don't have any of the qualifications except maybe one, and it's a very small one, but they need to be up here to ride this ride. And Sage walks in with this massive list of certifications and is offering a reasonable sum, and they pick the minority over the person who's qualified. That's DEI.
And
That's
that is just racism.
That's just racism. So that's the point that this Emma person doesn't seem to get. It's literally not that difficult, but whatever.
Doing that for gender, that's just sexism.
Yeah, I've experienced.
Notice how doing that for gender is sexism, and not genderism. Almost as if, wait a minute.
Well, she just acknowledged that non-binary doesn't exist because there's only two genders. Because binary, woo!
Hello, lovely people. My name is Emma. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. It's all too woke nowadays.
I mean, some things. I used to have the mentality that everything, everywhere was woke all at once, but
Wait, is that movie that recently released?
that's what I was going with that. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah, no, that was the title.
I know, right? Nobody expected the Spanish Inquisition. But essentially, we lost somebody. We lost him.
No, I'm saying.
You're not. Your screen just took you off the list. You're here, but not here, I think. If you talk, I think I can hear you, baby. Oh, there you are. You're back. Say something.
Hey.
There you go. Okay, you're here. Okay. I've tried to temper my views for things that are woke and apply them to. It's not woke if you have, like, for example, the main ones I use is Baldur's Gate 3 versus like Dragon Veilguard. Baldur's Gate 3 is not woke.
Yeah, would tend to agree. It has some weird stuff, sure, but
well, does it have
that doesn't make it
ideologically
woke.
stuff? Yes. Is it fully based upon those things? No. What does it give you the option to do? Everything.
Ignore.
You can do everything. You can
Yeah.
be pansexual. You can not be pansexual. You can be straight.
You can,
not be
well,
straight. You
let's
can
not
be-
talk about some of the things you can do.
Well, no. What I'm pointing out is that it literally lets you do the exact same stuff you can do in a D&D game. Literally.
Because it's supposed to be a D&D
It's supposed
thing.
to be a D&D game. So, excuse me. If somebody wanted to go into a D&D game and make, I don't know, a trans character that's an apple unicorn dragon twisted tiefling thing.
What now?
Exactly. I don't think it would matter because it's not.
Well, no, that one seems a bit dodgy because you need to make a custom homebrew species for it.
No, you could just use that as like a skin over. Another.
Okay, sure. In that case, it works.
Well, I'm saying you could custom make it if you wanted to, but
they don't really have the apple flavor, right?
They might. There are apples.
Maybe, I guess.
Stop being a bigot.
Okay, fair enough.
But Baldur's Gate just lets you be whatever you want to be to whoever you want to be with or whatever. And they also had the two horny memes going around with it because Asterion and every freaking companion's like the first time you meet them is like trying to jump in your pants. Well, I'm sorry if that's the way people are in real life. I don't know if you've ever heard of hookup culture, but it does exist. Shouldn't, but it does exist. And that seems like a normal what you pick in a D&D. Like you just pick what you want to play. If your DM is LGBTQ plus, friendly or whatever, and your other players are as well, having an LGBTQ plus based D&D campaign is not a crime. It's
perfectly fine, actually.
I might not agree with the ideology or the scientific aspects of it or all the other things, but I'm not going to be like, you can't do that. Like, I don't care. It's your game.
Wait, I'm not policing people. Wow.
I probably should, and then charge them just like the government does. But I mean, I'd make a lot more money than I am now. But it's not required. I don't have to do anything. Go have your game however you want to. However, turn to the Dragon Age Veilguard. It's woke.
Let's not.
It's woke. There's no way about
Yeah.
it because the
Mhm.
entire identity of that game is the woke ideology. You are trans. Actually, I think they're.
Well, I mean, you can still choose for now.
Asmongold had this little thing where he had to like pick decisions or whatever, and every single one of them
Oh,
turned
yeah.
trans. So
No,
don't know.
there was one option to go back.
Yes, but I don't know what the other options were. They might force you to just go back into those options again. I don't know. But the point being is that you have 4 options on the same option bar that tell you be trans.
But not really, because they also say some stuff like, "Oh yeah, I see some person there. Oh, you're trans now."
I mean, honestly, if you look at like these kind of RPG games lately, they have been like that. Like you select, they even did this in Star Wars: The Old Republic,
Mhm.
where if you select something, you're expecting that to be your flavor text,
Mhm.
and it
no.
totally is a different sentence entirely. You're like, that's not what I wanted to say. Like it's gotten really, really, really bad. It's almost like a transliteration or a just a translation error,
Mhm.
where this is what the person says, but this is what it shows you that it says, and they don't line up. And you're like, but now I said the wrong thing. So I'm trying to compliment somebody, instead I insult somebody. I'm like, that's not what's supposed to happen. Like, let me at least rewind it and go back. And they're like, oh, that's like scum saving. I'm like, no, it's not scum saving. It's dealing with scumbag translationists that are freaking putting the wrong subtext into it.
Yep.
Sorry, I get a little hot about that.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Oh look, we're only 30 seconds in.
21 minutes, but yes.
No, in the video we're watching.
But that was the joke. But if you have the Dragon Age Veilguard, you have Tosh. Everything about Tosh
Whew,
is
yikes.
sexual, about her
Cringe.
identity, and cringe. Yes, definitely
Yes.
cringe.
Let's not forget that.
Basically just selfishness incarnate.
Mhm.
Doucheboggle to the nth degree. There is no liking this character because they're not likable. A man's face on a woman's voice, just not a good combination to begin with. But then on top of that, everything about her and actions is basically she just wants to grape everyone.
Yeah.
It's kind of disturbing, but I mean, for the people they're trying to represent, that does check out. But that's a different story. I'm just waiting for Tosh to decide to become the 42% statistic. So, sorry. Might have been a little too dark, but
You have to ignore the mission, and
yeah,
then
there's
doing
a
the
lot of
ending.
things.
That
I heard that
some
even
stuff
Dragon
happens.
Age Inquisition has a whole thing about top scars, and like that one.
Does it?
little, Yeah, there's like one little scene where this woman becomes a man or whatever, and
That
somebody's like,
doesn't sound right.
you could use. Well, the thing is, they thought it was Dragon Age Veilguard, but they actually found out, they got fact checked. It was actually from Dragon Age Inquisition, which is kind of weird. But it also kind of killed my actual intent to play Dragon Age Inquisition. But apparently the scene was just like, hey, if you had magic, because they have magic that you could completely remove your surgical scars, you could just be a man. Like, I would never let that magic within 100 feet of my body. And it's like,
But why?
but why? Your goal, would you not want your voice to change? Would you not want the scars to go away? Would you not want to be a man? Is that not your goal? Because if it's not your goal, then you're literally just playing a cosplay or a dress up at this point. Like,
I mean,
going
that's
extreme, but
exactly what it is.
yes, but that's my point. Is like, if you at least had all the bits and everything, like through magic, had all the bits like completely changed entirely and was permanently that way, but your DNA and everything matched you as male, your voice was male, your body was male, you had all the male bits, you didn't have any female in you whatsoever because of magic, that should be your end goal, right?
Yes, I would assume so.
So if that's the case, why would you be like, not within 100 feet of me? It was like, it's literally the one
It's like
thing
the whole D&D thing with the wheelchair guys, right?
I honestly think instead of wheelchair, it should be spider legs. That would be
Yeah, no, that would be way awesomer.
way awesomer because they can move increased speed or slower speed, just like
Mhm.
wheels. But they can also
And they
go
can
up,
actually
they
go
can
upstairs, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of cool things you can do. You can also omni move as opposed to moving only turn.
Mhm.
like that.
But yeah, healing magic not allowed. No,
No.
never in a
Well, also,
million.
Dragon Age Veilguard
miles
got rid of
around it.
blood magic because good guys don't do that. I'm like, but it's a grim dark fantasy. You're not supposed to be just exclusively a good guy.
Wait,
You
but
can be a bad guy.
necromancy is what?
Well, don't you know, invading somebody's body and choice, you know, my body, my choice, and it's like my body, or your body, my choice, as the current meme goes. That's literally what necromancy is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's not okay, because, you know, bloodbending and all that jazz, because everybody has this weird concept of what heroism is, and we're not going to get into that here because I covered that elsewhere. But
yeah,
the point
don't
being,
we have a video about that?
yeah, we have a video about that. But the point being, Dragon Age Veilguard lives and breathes and dies by
The ideology.
its ideology.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate does not. So there is not that. You could have those conversations and stuff in it, and you could make those decisions, but they're not the inherent point of the game. This is literally the inherent point of the game. Because anytime you're out of combat, you're talking about this kind of stuff. And it's all very questionable content and very unbelievable.
Some people. We've covered various members of the anti-woke brigade on this channel before.
Ironically, we have covered various members of the woke brigade in this channel. Check
Yeah.
So for some of you, this will not be a new phenomenon, but it is definitely getting more widespread. First of all, what the heck is...
I wonder why. When you inject it into everything and people get sick and tired of it, maybe they might push back. That's a natural... It doesn't even have to be woke or anything. Just put it into anything. If you get sick and tired of chicken and rice being on the menu for your parents, like your mom can only make this thing, you're going to get sick and tired and push against it because you don't want it. That's not a woke, anti-woke thing. That's just I'm sick and tired of your crap. Stop doing it. That's literally all it is.
Yep.
Woke. I awoke this...
This is... Okay.
So this is
Would you like to enlighten us on the language aspects of the differentiations of this?
The what now?
The difference between being woke and awaking in the morning.
Oh yeah. So woke is not really a form of the verb awaken.
Or awoke.
Awoke.
I'm saying in terms of like using language. When somebody says this show is...
Oh yeah, so is
they're not saying this show
is...
woke up this morning and had its coffee. That's not what they're saying.
No, of course not. Yeah. So the etymologies are different. Is that what you mean?
Yes, I was asking you to talk about the etymologies.
Sure. So of course you have the meaning where you go like awake from sleep. That's a thing, but the concept of woke is from I think it's from the black people in America when the injustice was still happening, way back in the past.
Slavery. That's what he means.
Yes.
We
don't talk about that
American
anymore.
Slavery specifically, but yes.
So
they love to talk about it. But that's the story.
Okay, yeah, maybe, but it's I don't know. So yeah. That's where it came from. So woke meant you were aware of the injustice done to your people due to the slavery thing. So, and the stuff behind after that. So there was the segregation still. I mean, why am I talking about this? You know more about American history than me.
I do, but you're usually the smart one who breaks down all the individual etymologies and stuff like that. So I was letting you do that. Not necessarily the history, but just how the word...
Okay, fair enough. But so to awake is very different than to be woke.
Yeah. So
they're not the same word. Yeah.
For example, when somebody refers to, because woke has had an evolution as a word. Woke started out, like you said, with the whole like we're aware of injustices and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And people have argued
so
over the
that
actual
became
origin of it,
the word
for
the LGBTQ group.
Well, no,
but then
it was co-opted. It was co-opted by different groups and evolved over time.
Okay,
and
sure. It started. I think it started. I'm not 100% sure.
Mid-2000s, right?
It started during I think the segregation times. That's where it first developed. Then it morphed into feminism. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think feminism ever used that particular frame.
Okay, maybe it skipped feminism and went to
what I'm saying is that the modern concept is not the same as what it was.
Oh yeah, no, sure.
To be. So, woke is supposed to be I'm aware of things. Like the social justice warrior era,
Mhm.
that was what woke meant. Woke meant
Yeah.
like I see the injustices of the government.
Yeah, social
doing
justice.
all this-
That's the perfect term. That's
Yeah.
essentially the entire idea of woke.
But social justice used to mean one thing, evolved in something else, and then it became woke. So woke is supposed to be I'm aware of how you're mistreating people. I'm aware of your misgivings, your misdeeds.
Mhm.
I'm aware of all these things. That's what it originally was.
Yes.
Now
Now
it's LGBTQ plus everything. It's
It's-
been co-opted. All that
I would
jazz.
describe it as a sort of quick summary of everything intersectional, right? So it's intersectional ideology.
Intersectional plus, because there's always more.
Yeah, but that's already built into
It
intersectionality.
then after the LGBTQ plus groups co-opted it, it
Mhm.
was then co-opted by the right.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
the right
anti-woke,
used it.
right?
The right used it as kind of a slur, almost not really a slur, but like they used it to mock their movements.
Yeah,
by
because
saying
obviously,
they're woke, and they just because I would mock a woke person by saying you're woke, you're so awake, you're not even awake, like you're dead asleep at this point. You're
Mhm.
living in a dream
yeah,
world.
I
You're
guess that
not,
could work.
you're still stuck in the matrix, kind of a thing. While the rest of us are, awake and aware of the matrix, you're still stuck in La La Land because
Right,
you want
but wait a minute. Wouldn't that mean that we're in Zion?
it's a metaphor, not an actual one-to-one comparison, good sir.
Okay, fair enough.
But the point being is that while they claim to be woke and aware, they're really not aware because they're still asleep in this magical dream world. While the rest of us are like looking at them saying, how can you not see this is what you're doing? How can you not see this is how you're behaving? These are entirely different things. So I find it disingenuous for her to go, what does woke mean anyway? I awoke
Yeah.
this morning. That's
Yeah,
not
no,
what the
that's-
word is even implying contextually. It
Mhm.
doesn't even remotely come into that play. So let's continue.
This morning, I made myself a proper cup of coffee in a proper coffee pot. It is one of many words that has
That was quite the words.
Mhm.
A cup.
Yeah, I
been
guess
sort of
that's
adopted
words.
more recently by right-wing conservatism, largely.
Which she's not in favor of.
Well, maybe not right-wing conservatism, but
Right wing,
just
but not right wing conservatism.
yeah.
As with much language that pervades kind of online discourse in particular, the word has kind of been adopted and manipulated by those who are anti the thing.
I mean, not
Yeah.
always. It can be co-opted by people who just change the definition
Mhm.
because people think that's actually okay for some reason.
Anti-woke. It is not the people that created the term, it is not the people that are most frequently using the term to describe themselves as particularly good.
It's not people that created the term, sure, but I'm pretty sure the right wings is using it most frequently.
Yes, more frequently by far.
Position. It is the people who hate those people that have adopted the term and manipulated it to mean something slightly different that is easier to hate. In case you've not heard me just
No, it's more correct.
I pun intended, hate when they say hate.
Yeah,
Because it's not hate. It's more of disgust. It's more of disappointment. It's more of I'm tired of this.
I'm not angry, right?
Yeah,
Merely
I'm just-
disappointed.
I'm just like it's like when your father comes home from work, finds out you didn't do good on your school grade, and just shakes his head and walks away, doesn't say a word, and you just feel the weight of that, and you're like, man, I let my dad down, kind of a thing. In a healthy relationship that you would normally have. So if you have not experienced this, you probably didn't have a healthy relationship with your parents. Just to say,
Exactly.
but when you let your parents down, who they raised you right, they loved you, they cared for you, they set you up for success, and you are the downfall of your own. You're the cause of your own failure. You're the downfall of your success.
So
everything.
no, this is not applicable to cases where your family did not do well for you.
Well, you wouldn't understand the disappointment because you'd always be in disappointment if your parents are bad parents.
Fair enough.
So, like I'm saying, under my parents love
Yeah,
me. You know
under
those people
the
who-
good scenario.
You know how those people are like, my dad never they have daddy issues. Those
Yeah. Mhm.
They didn't have good, healthy relationships with their parents.
Fair enough. That's
so
true.
that's where, ironically, all are on one side for the most part. It's very rare to have them on the other side. Coincidence? I think not. But
Interesting.
in terms of like, I don't care if you want to have woke stuff in your own IP and your
Mhm.
own stuff that you came up with originally. It'll
But
crash and
don't take
burn.
someone else's,
Yeah, it'll crash and
stuff it
burn,
in.
not because I'm going to attack it or not because I'm going to, go after you and sabotage, DDoS your website and all that stuff. No, it's going to fail because there's not enough people in the world who care enough about your
Yeah,
product.
we're just going
to do
to
it.
ignore it.
Like, you can have 1 million people say, yeah, Dragon Age Failguard, and then 100,000 people buy the game.
Mhm.
That's
So what's
not
what's the
same-
phrase? The opposite of love is not hate, but apathy.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
this.
pretty apathetic. Now, I'm not apathetic when you take something that does not involve woke material and you bring woke material into it. And
Mhm.
yes, I'm aware that there are characters in Marvel and DC that are gay originally, but they were never
Sure.
like overtly flamboyant gay
So-
at all times of their life.
No, I think the thing is they were not gay first, character second,
Yes.
but
They
the
were a
opposite.
character that maybe their gayness plays into the story and people are okay with that because
Yeah.
there was an aspect that we figured out. Like, did you ever watch the Thomas Jane Punisher movie?
I
It
don't
was
think I've seen that
technically the
one.
second one. It was like 2003 or something like that.
Well, that's
It was
way
really
too long
early.
ago.
Yeah, you weren't even born yet. But no.
Indeed.
But it has a scene where one of the bad guy's henchmen is making out with a dude. But the whole point of the story is that Frank Castle, the Punisher, sets up this underling who's in charge of all this stuff and basically makes the mob boss, John Travolta, think that his right-hand man is having an affair with his wife, who's a hot mama. But the point is that he's gay, he's not interested into women, so John Travolta kills him. Spoiler. John Travolta kills him, and then Frank Castle drops the evidence saying, yeah, he never was with your wife. He's gay. Here's all the evidence of him being gay because Frank Castle took pictures. And it's like, the gayness was not the main theme, but it was a tool used in the story to explain you've been bamboozled. That's
Lovely.
perfectly fine. I love that film. I don't know how accurate it is to every because there's like 1 million different freaking origin stories.
Honestly, who knows anymore?
But it was fun. Thomas Jane did a fantastic job as the Punisher, and it has the Russian in it. It has all the cool stuff. Like it's a fun film, even if it may not be the most accurate film or whatever. But it's a fun film. But the gayness was not the main point. It was a story arc that had a purpose in the overarching story.
Mhm.
So that we don't mind. What we do mind is when you're like gay, 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 gay. Like that's when we're like, okay,
That's a lot of gay.
tone it down a bit. It's not Glee. Get it over it. But then they started adding this stuff into kids stuff, and like, all right, now that apathy changed really quick to I don't care to oh boy do I care, and then that's where we get these problems. That's why
Indeed.
people show up and are upset about these kind of things. So they're trying to gaslight us and they're trying to build a straw man. None of this is the way they're saying it is. It's not a hate. It's not necessary. Keep it away from kids. Don't do trans.
Don't stuff it
stuff
in my
kids.
face.
Don't shove it in my face. The same people who scream and cry about we don't want Bible religion stuff shoved in our throats are the exact same people going, we want to shove LGBTQ identity politics and intersectionality down your throats.
With that voice, exactly. Yes.
I've had a good, healthy dose of Monty Python in my life. Sorry, but they're the perfect definition of hypocrisy, hypocrite, whatever you want to call it. Like they are the very thing they hate, pun intended.
Describe this before. Here is the actual definition of woke. Woke is an adjective derived from African American vernacular English, originally meaning alertness to racial prejudice and discrimination. That was its original meaning.
I called it social injustice.
Yeah,
back in
and it was also co-opted by another group, which got co-opted by another group, and it kept changing hands, and then it always modified a little bit.
Yeah.
But what somebody calls social injustice, aka slavery, in early American history, then it applied to things like, well, I'm not getting the exact same outcome as you. Those are not the same thing. If I go to Starbucks and I get the last large Frappuccino or whatever, I don't go to Starbucks, I don't drink coffee. But if I go there and get the last Frappuccino, you getting
Why
stuck
would you
with a
ever
medium.
get a Frappuccino?
I'm making a point here. If you get stuck with the medium because they don't have any more larges,
That's
it's
racism,
not
yes.
social justice issue. It's an unfortunate aspect of reality. I'm sorry you got hurt because your parents didn't love you enough to tell you that coffee is not the end all be all, and it is not. You
Yeah,
don't need to
everyone knows tea is
make
the
anyone care
superior
about
one.
you. It's just it's stupid. And yes, I used a silly, stupid metaphor or whatever allegory. But the point would being, it's that silly. They're not comparable. If you're trying to compare the fact that a trans person who is a biological man can't go into the same room as a young girl and change or pee or whatever the case might be, pun intended, you cannot compare these two things to the same. They're not the same. Owning a person and a person that's in the wrong bathroom are not the same things. If anything, just make a trans bathroom.
Yeah.
You solve that problem. But nobody's going to want to do that because
There
costs
is not
more
enough.
money. There's not enough population to do that. Two, it's expensive to just make a whole other
Yeah.
bathroom. You have to make room for that whole bathroom.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, you can't just do the whole the unisex bathrooms where it's like a one person at a time thing, because it takes
Well,
up
I mean-
it takes up a lot of space, and you need a lot of them.
Mhm.
Because it's like when you go to an airport, there's like a whole row of toilets, a whole row of urinals, all that kind of stuff. They have them for the men's and for the women's, but the women's is all stalls, the men's half stalls, half urinals, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, sometimes it's like 70% this.
percentage
Details.
doesn't matter. The point is unnecessary pedantic details.
Mhm.
Good sir, I said good
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Anyway, the point being is that that's a lot of people you could fit in a very small area, that you could probably fit 3 or 4 individual unisex bathrooms in that same exact amount of space. You can't fit all that because they make them big, because they usually make them for a family. So if you're like a mom and a dad, you've got 4 kids and a stroller and all that stuff. You got to fit all of that into one of these rooms, right?
Mhm.
So they got to be moderately large rooms, whatever.
But no, don't they usually have separate ones for those?
They do have those as well. Like the airport I have nearby has that. But
Yeah, but also small regular ones.
yes, they do. But my point is there's one unisex, one individual single toilet unisex per entire giant rows of them.
Sure, yeah.
You wouldn't be able to trade out those giant rows and just give you a whole bunch of like one giant row of men,
Yeah,
one
but,
giant row of women, and one
one's
giant row
enough,
of
right?
trans.
I mean, how many trans people can you possibly have in that?
Well, it depends on how many
Yeah.
you're trying to get into a little girl's pants.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Yes.
So
that's,
if somebody
yeah.
can't understand that we are uncomfortable with a man being in a room with a woman, specifically a very young woman, aka a child, but even with a woman is still a problem, because of historical actual evidence of people dressing up like it because they abuse the system. You can call it cross-dressing, you can call it whatever, because literally trans is just cross-dressing unless you go the whole way, and if you go the whole way, you're still technically biologically male. You can't change DNA. That's not how that works. But
Yep.
despite that being the case, unless you want to be anti-science, I mean, you could argue with it, but you're anti-science. Good luck.
Yeah. Good luck. Well, I mean,
you're gonna need a
there's
whole
a lot of people
yeah.
there.
Well, I mean, there are, but they're probably not watching this video.
Fair enough.
But in regards to this, there is no way for you to not be able to comprehend how we would have problems with this. There's no way. It's literally not possible for you to not be aware or woke enough to recognize this is a problem.
Mm-hmm. Let's call it alert to injustice, right?
Oh my gosh. The real social justice has been co-opted by the right.
Wait a
Very
minute.
few people, basically nobody but the out-and-out proud racists,
You don't have to be racist to be anti-woke.
would probably have a problem with that. According to the internet, it was in the early 2010s when it started to be adopted for sort of broader usage, describing awareness of social inequalities such as racial injustice, sexism, and denial of LGBT rights.
Yes.
LGBTQ rights don't exist because they have the same human rights as everybody else.
Yeah.
That's
Well, do they always say
that's
trans
the-
rights are human rights? Indeed,
You're
they are.
right. They not the way they think it is.
Again, I think it's going to be all but a very few out and proud bigots
You're the bigot here.
who we don't really care about, to be honest.
Well, you do, because you're right. You're literally watching a person's video for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Funny that.
Anti-woke in the sense of being actually against that original meaning and that.
Nobody cares about the original meaning.
No, actually, I'm quite in favor of the original meaning, but it doesn't mean that anymore.
I mean, if you told her that, her head might actually explode. Just saying.
Yeah, maybe.
General
I mean,
meaning.
injustice.
Indeed.
I'm really. I'd like to see a lot
I'm
less.
against injustice, which is why I'm against DEI.
Hmm.
Because it's
Because as we established, DEI is racist. It's
and
just
bigoted
racism.
and homophobic and straight phobic and literally every phobe you could think of, even arachnophobe. That's all of the above.
Well, I'm not so sure about that one.
They will discriminate against spiders because spiders are not allowed to be equal to them, good sir. Get off of your high spider horse saddle
I
thing.
guess so. I guess this is mostly an Australian thing then.
The stuff that's all nightmare, dude. Goodness gracious.
Current, again, more right-leaning, conservative,
Always blame the right when you have no brain power.
slang.
I'm not even right wing, so that's the funny part.
It is generally accepted to describe something that prioritizes diversity and inclusivity over, say, quality.
That's kind of a problem,
So what?
guys.
Yeah, we want quality first
quality.
and foremost.
But here's the thing. There is a argumentation going on in the world where they actually believe diversity is the bestest thing ever. Now, in some cases, yes, it can be a very wonderful thing. I mean, America was born from diversity.
Yeah.
We're the melting pot of the world. We're the only melting pot that I'm aware of. And we have a lot of strengths because of it.
But it only worked because you had to integrate into American culture.
Yes. As soon as they stopped integrating into American culture and soon wanted their cultures to be the one that reigned supreme, that's when it stopped having that effect. There are still aspects of both happening at the same time. So it's not because one came in and tried to wipe everything out, doesn't mean the other one stopped. But it's the point is that the reason we succeeded, the reason we were so advanced, and the reason we did so well is because we took a little bit of every culture and integrated it into our society as a whole.
But see, the key issue is a society is only really strong if it's culturally homogeneous.
Homogeneous
Now,
cultures are what stand the test of the time.
exactly. Now, it's important to note that...
That's historical, by the way. That's not just...
Yeah, true. But it's important to note that we're talking about the culture specifically, right? So this is not racist because you can have a racially super diverse country if they all have the same cultural norms and values. It will be a perfectly stable, functioning society.
Ironically, there is a form of diversity that overlaps with that kind of diversity in the wrong way, because you have the diversity that merges into a same cultural identity, aka American.
Yeah.
And then you have the identity that comes alongside American and is also diverse, but is not trying to work itself into American diversity. And that it clashes with that. So that's two forms of diversity clashing. So in this case, which is she in favor of? Which form of diversity is better? Because all she knows is diversity. She doesn't know the difference between types of diversity. So that's where this whole argument's silly and nonsensical in that regard. And I never hear anybody, even the people on the right, like the alt-right or just regular conservative right or left or alt-left or whatever, far left or whatever they're called. I don't ever hear them talk about the different kind of diversity. They only talk about diversity if it's one unified thing. It's not. There's the modern concept of it, but that's just like a blanket cosmetic item term for it. It's not the actual thing.
Indeed.
Hiring women and people of color instead of the best person for the job.
So you're admitting that the best person for the job is not a woman or a person of color. Because if they hired the best person for the job, and it was
but this is the statistics we went into first, right? So if you have 10 people, one of them is the best, and let's say they have equal chance. If 3 of those are black, right, a minority group.
Affirmative action. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I was trying to remember.
Is that the word
Popped
you were
in my
looking
head.
for?
That's what I was looking for. Affirmative
Oh,
action
damn.
basically allowed. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
struggling. I kept going affordable healthcare. I'm like,
I
"There's
thought
nothing
you
to
were
do."
going to go
Ah.
looking for some sort of weird
I was
name for
struggling.
a
I was
law or
really
something.
struggling. No, the affirmative
Affirmative action, yes.
affirmative action, basically forcing people who are not qualified into positions they're not qualified to be in, and then it causes everything to lower in quality,
Right.
which is a shock to nobody because when you're not qualified for something, you shouldn't be doing it.
Right. Also, it's
Namely,
important to
me
note
doing
here.
YouTube. I'm not qualified for this. But
It's important to note that we're not saying
thank you,
that.
Obama, because now because
Yes,
of you,
well.
I am able to YouTube.
It's important to note that when we say this, we're generalizing, of course, right? It's not that every person who is a minority is definitionally worse than others.
Yeah.
It's just more likely you end up with a worse candidate if you exclude certain groups and only look at one specific
Well,
group.
not even that, but look at the percentages of the populations of ethnicity.
Yeah, but that's why it
ethnicities.
works, right? That's
Well, I know,
the
but I'm saying, like,
reason
if you have
the
62%,
statistics work out that way.
if you have 62% white people, your odds of coming across somebody who's white that has the qualifications you're looking for is going to be higher than, say,
Exactly.
15%.
Yes.
That's how that works. That's literally how it works because
That's literally also what I was explaining.
I know, but you were explaining it poorly. But just kidding. I was trying to give an alternate view in case people were not following along. But essentially,
Fair enough.
if you have people coming in and you're like, well, you need to hire these people because they're minorities, that's just racism.
Yes.
And it's like her saying hiring women and people of color instead of the best person for the job implies that you yourself just said, why do you think they're not the best person for the job? You literally just said they're not the best person for the job.
And if they're not the best person for the job, you end up with a worse person in that job if you
And
hire them.
what they do is going to be
Yeah.
worse than somebody who's better qualifications. Like, even if you had two people who are worse for the job, if you pick the better of the two worse, it'll be less worse than the other person's worse. That's how that works.
Yeah.
It's
I think
silly,
that's
it's
right.
stupid. And yeah, well, it is. Like, if you have somebody who's like, I can do a 40% quality of the job, the other one's like, I can do a 10% quality of the job. Well, if you go with the 40%, it's still only 40%. It's going to still be crap compared to the person who does 100%.
I just
But it's
noticed
better
we're
than the
only,
10%.
2.5 minutes in.
I know. I'm working on it, but she's got a lot of
Yikes.
stupidity we're going through.
That sort of thing is what they kind of mean by woke when they say it. For anybody out there who is watching this feeling that they're a normal person, they're not.
There's no
Yeah, so us.
The
Right.
normal person is the same people who thinks that the world is round, the moon is not made of cheese, and that we ever actually did a moon
But
landing.
moon's
And
not made of
Australia's not
cheese.
real.
What? Oh yeah, Australia definitely not real. As is Finland's.
You're normal. You're not racist, sexist, and homophobic because you're not.
I mean,
Somebody-
we're not.
Somebody applying a title to you or an attribute to you.
A title.
Well, I mean, saying you're racist.
Damn, is this a title
you're,
now?
You're a racist. You're not a normal person. You're a racist. That's a title. You're applying a title to somebody.
Fair enough. I would say that's more the word to use there is label.
The title, label, they're all both the same. A title
No,
is a
that's
label.
slightly different.
A title's older. Label did not exist until the modern era.
Fair enough.
Anyway.
Racist or sexist or homophobic, but they do feel like it's all a bit much. It's all gone a bit mad. It is a bit
Yeah.
You are a bit mad, yes.
just
It
too
has
woke out
indeed gone a bit mad.
there. Everything's political. I would
Yeah, everything being
I
political is
thought,
also
wait
a
a
problem.
moment. I thought that was the whole point of the left, right?
It is.
Everything is political.
Everything
personal
is, racist,
is
everything
political.
is sexist, everything is homophobic, and you need to
You
point it all
have to
out.
point it all out, yes. We said that
there's-
again? That was...
Anita
I forgot.
Sarkeesian, who is what? A leftist.
Wait a moment.
It's great.
encourage you to consider, just sit on the fact for a minute, that
Then maybe you are.
the majority of the mainstream big
Why is she wringing her hands like this?
Because it's like... I don't know.
You have to cackle like a witch because she didn't have the deep enough voice for that. Yeah.
proponents of anti-wokeism are racist, sexist, homophobic, etc.
Based on what?
You have zero stats for that. None. you imagine them like her statistics, and everyone who agrees with that mentality, the statistics they have literally comes from their head. They say, you're a racist because you don't agree with me, therefore point in statistic. You're racist or a homophobe or whatever because you don't agree with me, another point in statistic. And just go up and up and up and up, and that's where they get their statistics.
Yeah.
Not because they are those things, but because they claim they are, and thus statistics are born. But we call them claims, and claims without evidence are not evidence.
Can be dismissed
Yes.
without evidence.
etc. Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, basically anybody involved with the Daily Wire, Nigel Fiegel, and any.
Nigel Fiegel?
Nigel
The fuck is
Farage.
that pronunciation?
It's probably a hateful term for him.
Nigel Fiegel?
Nigel Farage, because I know who that is, and I don't.
Yeah, no, I know it as well, but Nigel
I'm saying
Fiegel?
I'm literally across the pond, and I know who that is and how to pronounce it. So obviously, she just does it out of spite and hate.
Why is he racist again? Did he do anything?
Because he wants to make.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Britain
He
great
wants Britain to be
again. Allegedly. I don't know if he still holds
mostly
that position or not, but
British.
he wants homogeny because diversity's not working out for Britain.
Hmm.
Anybody involved with
That's-
GB
yeah.
News. Just
GB
sit
News,
with
I
the
don't
fact
know
for a
about.
minute that this conversation.
Darling, we've been sitting on 3 minutes for 56 minutes. we're
Uh,
well
phew.
past this point.
Whew.
Conversation around wokeism gone mad is potentially using moderate people who feel the effects of a reduction of privilege.
No,
First
no.
off, that's not how moderates work, and you're not reducing their privilege, especially the privilege that isn't there. But what you are reducing is the quality of everything around us,
Yes.
including the people, ironically.
And you're giving others privilege.
Yes, you're stealing from the rich to give to the poor, but not the rich that stole from the poor. You're stealing from the rich to give to the poor, from the people who are literally the ones who give us hospitals, universities.
You're stealing
libraries, etc.
from the middle class, not the rich.
Yeah, that too.
That those anti-woke proponents are potentially.
But here's the funny thing: if I was to reduce her privilege, she'd cry sexism.
Yeah.
She's white and she's a female, but because she's a female, that's
Mhm.
a protected class, and thus
So equality does feel like the reduction of privilege to the privileged, right? Wait a
Oh,
minute.
you mean equity?
Equality, not equity.
I thought equity was the.
No, equity is the forcing everything to be equal outcomes.
Yeah, that's what she wants. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying equality.
Well, she doesn't want equality. She wants.
Yeah,
to
okay,
be
fair
like
enough.
everybody else.
They don't want equality. That's true.
We don't want
So
everybody equal. We want to be better than you.
using those average.
Oh, she just called you average.
Wow. Why would you call
Oh.
me average?
'Cause you're
That's
average.
that's mean.
Weren't you listening?
Would be normal, non-hateful people as
You're a would-be.
I am
normal,
a
non-hateful
normal,
person.
non-hateful people.
No. You're a would-be normal, non-hateful person.
Is she saying I can't think for myself? What?
No, you're supposed to believe exactly what I tell you to believe.
Oh,
Didn't you
okay.
see the
Oh.
contract? What's wrong with you?
Was that? Oh, I must have
agenda
read over that.
of racism and bigotry. I just wouldn't.
Okay, I'd like to point out that by definition, she is woke. Because everything she runs through her little tiny brain is going to run through the filter of political ideology, intersectional, whatever.
As
Intersectionality.
evidenced by
She
the
keeps
whole
using terms
minutes you
like
just saw.
racism, bigotry, transphobia, homophobia, blah, 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 blah. Whatever the buzzword of the century might be.
Mhm. To demonize opposition so that her side seems reasonable.
That's called poisoning the well. But she's doing a lot of right now because we haven't even got to the other guy's opinions really. Besides the first, like you think we're taking a long time, she's taking a long time to get to the guy's actual video.
Well, actually, we are taking a long time, so.
I know,
yeah.
but like in percentage fact.
You to sit with that for a minute and just let the awareness exist because the term woke
Yeah.
has been adopted to mean something different in.
Because we changed the definitions of words. How dare you
Wait
think we're
a
changing the
minute.
definition of words?
I thought language was supposed to evolve, and that's why we have all the gender stuff now.
Yeah, allegedly.
But
You're
it's
not
not
allowed
allowed.
to do it. It's only if we do it, is what her point.
We're not allowed
all
to
of this
change.
shocking
the
clickbait
meaning of
material, etc., etc., and it's become so widespread, it is very possible that you can consider yourself anti-woke, a lot like people consider themselves anti-feminists who actually are feminists in terms of ideals, who actually agree in...
Modern feminists aren't feminists.
Yeah, I guess I agree in equality of rights regardless of gender. That's
equality
something
of
I
rights
favour.
regardless of gender, for example.
The important part
would-
there is regardless of gender, not giving bonuses to certain genders
That's bigotry.
over others. Yes.
That's blatant bigotry.
actually not necessarily be anti-woke if you look at what the actual meaning of woke is. I would
This
just...
is what
Yeah.
again?
Well, she defined it by the African American vernacular. Remember?
So
Which is
aware
she then
to
compared-
injustice.
She then compared, slavery and being aware of the injustice of slavery to that of not using proper pronouns.
Mm.
She hasn't said pronouns yet, but that's the modern stance of injustice.
Yeah. So fun fact, where I'm from, we just use he for every one, regardless.
Your mom
of,
walks in. He did it. I'm like, what? That's your mom.
Yeah, no,
He-
that's
he did
a
it.
thing here. Local dialects.
You just
Fun
forgot how
things.
to use S's, I guess.
Yeah, we don't have those anymore.
It's he. You mean he?
just try and sit with the fact that
Can you run on like words, like a word that ends in S, and then ram the he together so it actually does say she? Or is that not allowed?
No, I think that's actually illegal.
Of course, the communists are against that.
Yeah. I think yeah.
Oi,
that-
you got a license to use that one word with that other word together.
there are people trying to manipulate and radicalize a moderate audience, and this is a great way to do it. What?
Like the far left doesn't radicalize
Yeah.
anybody. Right.
Well, see, the problem is the radicalization happens precisely because of the influx of the ideology of intersectionality in where it's not supposed to be. Mostly entertainment. Because without entertainment, we have nothing to distract us from the horrors of reality, let's say.
And so what we should do is take our escapism from the horrors of reality and fill it full of the horrors of reality.
Yes. And
Sounds
so
like a
if we can't
Big
escape
winner.
from the horrors of reality, we have to confront them. And guess what?
You basically force us into this corner. That's what happens.
Exactly.
What I want to do is look at some anti-woke videos because this has become so mainstream, so widespread that YouTube has become this, dare I say, cesspool
It's been a cesspool as long as you've been here, darling.
Yeah.
of toxic, nonsensical conversation
What we're
Like
watching
this
right
one?
now. Yeah, right here.
that sees every
The irony in this is just
It's,
palpable.
wow. Whew.
dude, and it is a majority of. I mean, you've got there are Brett Coopers out there. There are
She just made fun of a lesbian who married a dude. Wow.
Yeah, wow. Wait, are there multiple
Wow.
Brett Coopers?
Apparently, the people who agree with it. I know Blair Whites are also out there, but it's only one
Damn.
Blair White. It's just people like Blair White.
Yeah.
Those bigots that are like us but don't agree
Not
with us.
really?
Blair Whites out there, but they are the minority of the anti-woke
You're not allowed
crowd.
to
It
think
is
that,
largely
or-
men. Seeing a brilliant
It doesn't matter if they're men, women, a golf cart, or a goat. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Also, did you just assume my gender? What?
Yes.
That's,
sure.
wow.
Because
rude.
communists just don't allow LGBTQ people. So
I
It's
guess
safe-
that's true.
It was a safe bet, and also you just use he. So I mean, what else could you do?
A good point. Good point. That's
opportunity to either be angry or pretend to be angry
She's being angry right now. It's really funny.
anytime some mainstream media comes out with the main character being a person of color.
It's
Yeah.
not because they're a
That's
person
fine.
of color. That has nothing to do with it. It's what you do with the person of color. Did you erase somebody else who's an established character and ruin their legacy with "Do Better, Senator"?
Mm-hmm.
That,
Well, that's the problem.
that was your decision making. I'm one of the Avengers. If I
See-
can't get a loan, I'm pretty sure you know a guy who has millions and millions of dollars.
I mean, I think he does, yeah.
I'm pretty sure his entire organization knows who you are. I'm pretty sure he funds most of it. Just have him give you money so you can buy your boat or whatever it is you want to buy. Like literally, it's not that difficult.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, if you're an Avenger, and
But
your
does he
credit
want to
score-
buy a boat?
I think that's what the whole point was. Is he was trying to get like a credit or loan to buy a boat for either himself or a friend of his. I don't know what the freaking point is.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But the whole point
Because
is,
they
that
were a
if you're,
fishing.
if you're
Yeah.
an Avenger and we're in the military and your credit score is bad,
Whew.
you're the problem. Now, I didn't watch the show because I saw enough clips of it. I don't need to see the show, and I don't want to put myself through that. But if it's just because of racism, well, then you could have sued them.
Yeah.
And you would have won big because your credit score is still out there. It's still floating in the ether of the internets and the world's informational circle. So it's not difficult.
Or is it?
Like it's really not. We can't give you a loan. Why not? You don't have good credit. My credit's perfect. Here's my credit. Well, we don't want to serve you. Oh, because I'm a person of color. Oh, okay. So you're discriminating against my race. You're getting sued. Guess
Yeah.
what? You'll get your loan.
Because
and
guess
the
what?
money.
That's racism if you do that.
Yeah, because that's true racism. That's not temporary racism. But no company.
Temporary racism.
Temporary is in like one individual person rather than the entire system, like banking system. The
Ah,
banking
okay,
system
yeah.
isn't racist against you. The person that you're dealing with might be racist against you.
Yeah.
So, in terms of like, you're wanting to get something and somebody isn't going to let you get it, that, yeah, sure, that's racism.
Mhm.
But you're also picking the most extreme possible outcomes and making that the flag-bearing standard of your entire movement. You're saying, look at these extreme, non-existent instances that don't ever actually happen. See how bigoted the world is? That's not how that works.
Or a woman. Or, heaven forfend, both. I just typed the word woke into YouTube and selected like within the last month, and the choices are so many.
Well, if you look into movies and entertainment and you type in the word woke, the choices are so many. It's shocking. How did this happen?
The options
To
are
be fair, though, I do
limitless.
think
I
that
just
a lot of
recommend
people
it.
are using woke in a way that it's not really
It's
a good
incorrect.
fit, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of people who think Baldur's Gate's woke. I
exactly.
disagree with them because I've come to the understanding that, like, instead of just everything being woke, it has to be fundamentally, in its entirety, focused on the intersectionality aspect with no regard for anything else. Just having women in a movie, like
Perfectly
Mean
fine.
Girls, is not intersectionality.
In fact,
It's a
it might
girl for
actually
a
be
movie.
good.
Well, my wife likes it, so I guess
Yeah.
Pitch Perfect, all those kind of girl
I
movies.
mean, not my typical genre I enjoy,
It's
but
not for me, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be.
they're
for
perfectly fine movies.
Yeah, like there are very few movies that are perfect. Lord of the Rings just happens to be one of them.
Yeah. Well,
I think.
3 of them, actually.
Well, technically, Lord of the Rings is one book. So,
Yeah, but there are 3 movies.
well, yes, they couldn't fit it all in one 12-hour movie.
So it's technically 3 movies.
Well, it's 3 parts.
Maybe.
Checkmate.
Because I was very inspired by a D'Angelo Wallace video recently, in which he used.
That sounds
I don't know who
very,
that
very
is.
gay. I'm assuming it's an influencer of the woke virus.
Could be.
A new YouTube account and wiped his search history, and he was trying to see how many clicks it would take to get into anti-woke content, and it was like 2. Just from like mainstream.
Yeah, but it also depends on what you're clicking on. If you're clicking on blatant stuff, then yes. But if you're
So,
clicking on like sports, probably not.
Yeah.
But also,
Was this just the YouTube history or also the Google history?
It was into YouTube, so I would assume search history tied to that.
Because Google and YouTube sort of link this stuff, right?
All you have to do is open a what are they? The private tabs or whatever, where they don't like stash your search history or whatever.
Well, I'm not sure if they really don't, but
well, I mean, I think it was Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers said he did that for something to test to see what would pop up for his materials or something, or for Nerdrotic or something like that, and he couldn't, like things weren't popping up for him or the
oh yeah, like
he was
test
referencing,
shadow banning or stuff.
He was referencing that, but also he was referencing Joe Rogan's Trump interview.
Mhm.
And there was a kerfluffle with that, and some of it was on Joe Rogan's aspect, but also some of it was on YouTube's. It's
That's
just a
fair.
story. I don't really care. about
5
the overall-
minutes, fuck.
I know, right? We're getting there, but she needs to get past this and get to the actual video. That's where it's going to let us go a little farther.
Okay.
movie stuff. I think he was looking at DC movie stuff. It's very
Yeah, DC's been pretty bad.
good, but that kind of inspired me to take a look at the more general anti-woke discourse, to have a break from, you know, the Ben Shapiro's and the Matt Walshes who are playing to a large audience that expects a certain opinion of them. So we're looking at the anti-woke masses today. But do check out the D'Angelo Willis video. You probably already subscribe to D'Angelo. He's much more famous than me.
I should be more famous than this chick just because I have.
I don't even know
content
who
way
he
better.
is.
Well, she just told you who he is.
Yeah, but I still don't know.
Well, I know.
Because
You're
there
on
was
board.
nothing substantial of information in there that I could use.
Probably nothing substantial in his information either.
Also, learned from watching something of his recently, frequently misgendered. So if you appreciate me,
A handsome
Okay.
lady. How is a handsome lady ever a compliment?
Yeah. I mean, non-binary maybe.
But you wouldn't be a lady.
Well, it's complicated.
And handsome is applied to men. So if you're non-binary, you're neither a man nor a lady. So neither of those words make sense. And she literally is about to say them.
Yeah, I don't know then.
me, as a handsome lady who is frequently misgendered, there's a
How can we misgender you when you don't even know what your gender is? You're like, I'm not a woman, I'm a handsome lady. Well, if you're a lady, aren't you a woman? No. So you're misgendering yourself. Yes. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up.
man for you to go and follow. Without further ado,
A pretty man.
I'm going to skip that.
Yeah, thanks. But no thanks.
November Hotels. Yes, woke video games are bad games.
Over the last few years, it feels like the gaming industry has been declining rapidly, and the threats are coming from all angles. On this channel, we've talked.
Notice the first thing. Let's go
What?
back to that.
Without further ado, November Hotels.
Notice the three things that
Yes,
pop up.
woke video games are bad games.
Over the last few years, it feels like the gaming industry has been declining rapidly, and the threats are coming from.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
Monetization. Not a
Yeah,
woke
that's
thing.
a big problem.
Bland
in
game
video games.
design.
Also
Also not a
not a
necessarily
woke problem, yeah.
Woke characters,
I mean, that is a woke problem. I mean, it's
Yeah.
right in the name.
but that's not necessarily the characters of the problem. It's the people who write the characters of the problem.
Yeah.
But even then, out of the three, she's gonna look at one.
From all angles. On this channel, we've talked about many of the reasons for this decline, from overinflated budgets to awful monetization, bland and repetitive gameplay designs, a focus on graphics over gameplay.
I agree with all of these
That-
points.
that
So
failed.
far, me and November Hotels.
See, she agrees with the other things. but
Focus
one
on
thing-
graphics over gameplay. Then how the fuck did we end up with
Dragon Age
the 2024 Harley Quinn?
Yeah, the one that looks like a Fortnite character instead of a
But bad.
Fortnite game. Yeah, Suicide Squad.
Are on the same wavelength. I don't know if I would say there's an overall decline. Again,
There's definitely
There
been
definitely
a
is.
massive decline in quality of games.
Mhm.
It's not dude. Look at the number. What the top like 4 or 5? Like we got Ubisoft, you got Bungie, you've got
They all crashed.
Blizzard, Activision, whatever. I don't know if they're all the major production companies, EA, everybody. They are sinking money, and I mean big money, like Concord. Just outrageous amounts of money into failures. Blatant failures. We got Ubisoft coming out with 2. Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Maybe they can salvage Shadows if they change a whole lot of stuff. But they've got a very small...
But
company doing it.
Outlaws is already dead.
Outlaws is already dead. And it was abysmal. Like that was worse than like PS1 graphic stuff, dude. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the
bad.
last good game released, 2024? It was Skyrim again.
What year is it? Skyrim was just released. What year? That's literally what it is. You don't know because it could be one of a million.
hmm
But it's just like there are obviously things that have changed, and there's obvious a decline. The rise of independence have been better than the decrease in AAA.
Yeah,
Like
but
that's just the nature of things.
If you're not a gamer, don't even worry.
No, you should worry because it's going to affect culture.
yeah,
It doesn't matter if you don't watch the movies that are woke. It doesn't matter if you're not pushing back against them. They will eventually come for your entertainment. That's the basic level of information you need to know.
If there's anything that you don't understand, if there's anything that seems like it wouldn't be
Like her.
clear to a non-hashtag gamer girl like me,
Press X.
press exit out.
I will explain it. I don't think that
But she's got Jurassic Park stuff and Jurassic Lost World in the background. She's got little characters of all these different things.
I don't see anything game related. Oh, I see the Dragon
Pokemon
Quest
amiibos.
slime.
You
Yeah.
got amiibos, Crash Bandicoot, a Satan
Dragon
goat,
Quest.
a Satan goat worship little thing.
I don't see
behind
that
her.
one. Where is it?
It's right behind her left eye.
Mm.
Let me help you out. Right here.
Ah, okay. Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Is that a goat?
That's the goat with multiple horns.
Oh,
Satanic goat
okay.
looking thing. But regardless,
Sure.
sure, she can have some nice stuff. Maybe she does play some games from time to time. But gamer girl's a bit more like a misnomer, I think. Gamer girl is not just a girl who games. A gamer girl is like somebody who's like professionally gaming.
Yeah.
If I have a friend who's a
Well,
girl who plays
professionally is maybe not the correct words.
games religiously, is that better?
That's probably better.
Okay, somebody who plays ridiculously amounts of games.
Yeah, but you don't have to end up a
Like,
professional, right?
somebody
I'm
who's
not
a
professional,
Somebody
but
who's a
I'm
professional cosplayer
massive
that never
gamer.
plays games is not a hashtag gamer girl.
Yeah, sure.
Just because they have stuff in their house or whatever
Mhm.
doesn't mean they're necessarily a gamer girl. People
Yeah.
don't think I'm a gamer, and I'm like, if I just showed you the other side of my basement, you'd see thousands of games.
hmm
And that's not including all the other games over here that I have that you probably can't see because I'm blocking them with a chair. But I've got a lot of games. Okay, you can't even see my Steam library. That's freaking huge. But the point being, just because you say I'm a gamer girl, does not mean you're a gamer girl.
Yep.
And like we said earlier, press X to doubt. I
Mhm.
don't have much confidence that she's going to tell me.
Weirdly,
accurate information.
in unison, right?
Yeah. We're
That
both
was
at the
perfect timing.
same wavelength, baby. Yeah.
the games have been in the decline,
That proves you're not a gamer girl, because even gamer girls
Mhm.
can figure that one out.
I think that AAA games are more heavily scrutinized.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
Probably because they're on the decline.
Who'd have thought?
And we're pushing back against things like over monetization and
Yeah.
prioritizing graphic.
I would, with all my heart, that over monetization was the only thing we were fighting right now.
Yeah. If
It'd be
only.
so much easier.
Of gameplay and stuff like that, and especially releasing unfinished.
Remember what they were arguing for Dragon Age Veilguard? But the graphics are so good. As they speak.
Is that what they were
in
arguing?
Fortnite graphics? Well, they were talking about. Look at the hair. The hair has great physics, and it doesn't clip or anything. And I'm like, cool. But is the game good? No. Okay, then I'll pass.
Wait a moment. The hair has physics?
Yeah, it actually has really good physics. But it's hair. Like, if The Witcher 3 had the hair physics of the Dragon Age Veilguard, the game would be perfect. It's a legit thing. Have you not seen this? Really?
No, but I was thinking the hair looked more sort of not like real hair, right?
Well, we're talking like if it brushes over their armor or something, it falls naturally. It's got individual strands, that kind of a thing. Like
Okay, yeah.
how it functions, it doesn't clip through your armor, it doesn't clip through your body, it doesn't bounce in the air like Geralt's or something. It doesn't look bendy bits. It looks like a slender.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I was thinking more of the
You
sort
can
of.
you can look that up later, but that's essentially what they're talking about.
early and inflated budgets and all this sort of thing. I largely agree with that, but the space for indie developers and stuff has skyrocketed.
which is
I
not
guess
AAA,
why?
because AAA is failing.
Yeah.
If you're willing to just try something that isn't bland mainstream AAA studio, the gaming industry has exploded with choices. Oh,
Because AAA
Except,
sucks.
right? Yeah,
That's literally the reason why.
it's bland mainstream.
Do you
You said
honestly
it yourself.
Do you honestly think, Emma, that if we did not have all these AAA studios failing miserably, that these big games that are coming out, if they were actual successes, anybody would have any time whatsoever for indie? No. The majority
And even
would
then,
not have
right?
time for it.
The issue definitely is in the execution, because the ideas of the last few games that got released in the past 5 years were actually really good, right? Starfield has conceptually so much promise, but it just absolutely failed on the implementation.
Which is Bethesda, so there's no subscribe.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's Bethesda, so it was to be expected.
We
Fair.
expected it, yeah.
But it's even worse than we would expect of a Bethesda game.
over the last few years, there's some incredible stuff out there. There's some
And
incredible stuff
actually-
made by like
Let's continue on that. The reason is because they stopped caring so much about the gameplay and went ideology first and only gameplay second. It's woke. That's essentially the problem.
That's what woke is, as we were trying to
Mhm.
very pedantically break down for everybody early on, which is why we're only 7 minutes late, and we're an
Yeah.
hour, almost an hour and a half. The reason being is because we want to point out the obvious differentiation of what the left considers woke and what the right considers woke and what centrists and moderates consider woke.
Mhm.
So what it should be is not necessarily what it is viewed by both sides, or all sides, I guess. So when we say woke,
Because guess what? Words can have different meanings based on its context.
but words have definitions, and if you try to change those definitions, it ceases to make understanding possible.
Yeah.
That's why words have definitions. So when you say a phrase, like say a phrase, you know what I'm saying because those words have meanings. But if I change those to something entirely different, you no longer know what I am saying.
You can guess, but it's not going to be good.
Well, it's going to be a bloodbath if you do that. Like Hargen, Stugen, Spargen, Dugen, Magen, Wagen.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly what I'm saying. How did you know? I mean, talk to Welsh people. You'll understand right then and there.
solo indie devs. It's amazing out there. There's some
I agree.
Problem.
phenomenal.
Indie devs don't have too much reach usually, unless they have an exceptionally good game.
Well, not even that. It's rare to have woke indie games. Like they still exist. They have LGBTQ
Mhm,
plus
sure.
main frontline main characters.
But because they are
LGBTQ
low
games.
budget, they can still sort of get profit.
They can recover because they have a small market,
Mhm.
but the market actually will answer their call, as opposed to a massive market where you're only getting a small non-existent percentage of people
Exactly.
actually interested in it. You're not going to recover your cost. It'll cause the studios to shut down. Like, what is it? Zon, whatever that one's that came out.
Don't know.
It's basically this guy like releases this, and the entirety of like Hollywood was like, "Oh yes, oh it's great, oh it's awesome," and then none of them bought the game.
But Hollywood,
Yes, the developers.
they're into games now. What?
No, they have like those game awards and stuff where they like say, "Oh hey, check out my game."
Oh, you mean some Hollywood guys got hired to do the promotion or whatever?
No, the guy who headed the project and everything. Apparently, he's from like formerly from Sweet Baby Inc. or whatever, and he went and made this game and then used his father's death to kind of like boost his sales. You have got to have remembered this at some point, but
Yeah, I mean,
But the
I
point being is,
vaguely have
he's in this big
something
huge
like
room.
that in mind, but I don't know what it's called.
He's in this big huge room full of liberal white women and probably liberal white men, and a few minorities here or there scattered throughout them because that's how statistics work.
Yeah.
But-
So non-gamers probably.
Mostly non-gamers, and there's like probably thousands and thousands of them all going woo, and then like he sold like 26 copies. So they were all for him, but not going to support him.
Mhm.
Kind of thing.
No, life-changing games have come out in the last few years. That's just my
Life-changing games.
To be fair, Skyrim has come out.
Oh, true. Yes, that's true.
opinion on games in general. So far, we're on the same wavelength when it comes to like AAA titles.
Myriad of glitches and buggy releases.
Agreed.
All
Yeah.
of these are legitimate reasons why quality has declined in modern games, but not
Yeah.
talked about nearly enough on my channel is one of the biggest and most critical reasons as to why
Notice he says not talked about enough.
Hmm.
Wow, that seems like a horrible video for her to watch to make her point.
Yeah,
modern games
almost
are
as if he
failing.
doesn't talk about this a lot. Wow.
I was just about to say, hold on a second, when he said, one of the things that is not talked about enough on my channel, because if there is one thing that is overly talked about, it is how games are too woke nowadays.
Well, yes, because they all
Yeah.
suck most of the time. Like it's woke games do suck. Games,
See,
movies that have minor woke elements in it, aka they have identity politics, like there's a gay person, there's a trans person, whatever, a cross-dresser. That doesn't matter because they're not the forefront. Like Boondocks.
those games are not woke. They have small woke elements.
They're not even woke elements because they're not the forefront. By definition, they don't even reach woke as a
Yeah.
level.
So it's you have a woke character, for example. If you have, say, let's say the rest of the game is normal. If you then have a character who happens to be gay, but he has a personality based on his stuff, right?
Yeah,
then that
he
would
has,
be
he
not
has actually a
woke.
place to story. That's what I'm
But
saying. Yeah.
if you have then in that sort of regular game a character whose main identity is gay,
Yeah.
and that as his own soul thing, with not really too much else going
It's a
on,
non-woke.
then you
tone of
have a woke character
Yeah.
in a non-woke game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I
So
feel like
woke games definitionally are games that first and foremost are about the ideology. And then the
first and foremost
gameplay-
put games to the complete
Mhm.
back end of this.
Yes, the game part is a second afterthought.
That's not even a second. It's probably like a 6.
Well,
or
okay,
7.
sure. Last, who knows?
Last is there. Yeah.
The important thing is the gameplay, the actual thing that you play games for, right, as the name suggests, is pushed to the back, and thereby it becomes a bad game because it's not focused on making a good game. It's focused on ideology, and thus woke games
Okay.
are bad games, as the title of the video that this person is watching is exactly saying.
Gamergate really fucked up game response.
Yes, because it was
Yeah.
the gamers that were the problem, not the journalists that were sleeping with the devs to give the devs better words
Yep.
and stuff. Yeah,
Yep.
it totally wasn't the woman's fault.
Responses and reactions and just like amateur games journalism are just absolutely Gamergate. If you're not familiar, I won't go
Yes, they were amateur game journalists. They got sex out of the freaking deal. That's what they got, and not even a good-looking person either.
into it in massive detail, but it was a sort of a period of intense harassment of specific female journalists. It was a very
Yeah, specific
misogynistic
female
movement.
journalists, not because they were female, but because they were misusing their, let's call it, power. Yeah.
Women don't have no power in these words. Yeah.
Because if you take a good look at Gamergate, it's only those journalists, right, and not the other female journalists. So it's not misogynistic because otherwise,
It's not like
They
the
would
Brett
all-
Coopers and the Blair Whites.
yeah. Oh wait, no, those don't count.
They don't
I
count.
forgot.
Yeah.
That again is the sort of thing that had a legitimate origin, a legitimate complaint.
Mhm.
Although I believe
Also, they call it harassment. We call it reporting, or like proper reporting on something.
Mm-hmm.
This person did this bad thing. Oh, well, let's tell everybody. That's harassment. You're telling everybody that you're doing this stuff. Why is it harassment if we tell them?
believe it was misinformation again that sparked the biggest controversies, but there were legitimate
Okay,
points
so
about
any
maybe
examples?
No.
some
No.
games journalists being too cozy, receiving too much from a game
Yeah.
studio.
I
Definitely.
like that. That's what they call it these days. Cozy. That's what they call it. Netflix and chill went from Netflix and chill to cozy.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't keep up with
To be able to
those.
give
I believe the term you're looking for is prostitution.
fair and accurate representations. There was one specific story about a games journalist woman, which wasn't totally true, and was
Okay.
incredibly
What
sexist,
was
and that
not
sparked a
true?
movement
Could
of
you
gamer.
elaborate?
She's not gonna tell
No?
us who it was, but I bet it's the one who started the entire Gamergate movement, and it
Could
is
be.
actually
But-
accurate.
So it helps if you, while saying this, right, not
What's the
to
incident?
give an example, tell us what isn't true, so that we actually know what happened, because now you're just
And what
saying,
not true.
Yeah,
But if she does that, though, then we can actually go and look into it, and we can find out for ourselves that she's lying.
yeah.
So that's why she's not going to do that.
Mhm.
Pros
Exactly.
that are very anti-woke to just be in.
But here's the thing: nobody was anti-woke when Gamergate started.
Exactly, because
It didn't exist.
it didn't exist then.
It
Woke wasn't
started
really a
because
thing.
women began being woke, and then people were like, "I don't want this in my games." And then the thing started infiltrating their games, and then they became more and more agitated by it. And then it got worse and worse and worse, and then now we have the anti-woke moments. Congratulations, you played yourself.
Again.
insanely harassing and
And again, and there'll be a Gamergate 3 that'll be again, so don't worry.
misogynistic. And I just,
Examples,
It's
please.
not misogynistic to say that it's unethical for a woman to go sleep with reporters or journalists that are going to give her a better rating than her actual game deserves, which is dishonest and disingenuous to their
Mhm.
readers, because she wants better reviews and scores so she can make a buck. So she sleeps with
Almost
them.
as if the whole thing was about ethics in games journalism. Wow.
But she doesn't know what that is, or say it doesn't know what that is, because she's not a she and she's not a he and she's not an it. So I don't know what she, he, it thing is, because she doesn't even know.
feel like that whole period was a real turning point where people either
I bet you a lot of money she doesn't even know what actually happened.
Sure.
She just heard from
Well,
someone
no, I'm
else.
not going to bet against that. Fuck.
she heard from somebody else who heard from somebody else in the game of telephone all the way down the line saying, here's what actually happened. The bigots and the misogynist won. And then that's her go-to, that she doesn't actually know the
Meanwhile,
story.
the rest of us can say, I was there, Gandalf.
I was
there 3,000 years ago.
I was awoken at that time and got my copy of my copper, whatever she said. Anyway.
went, oh man, some gaming stuff, like some of the gaming community really is misogynistic, and we should maybe work a bit harder to protect women in the space. And
So,
Why should we protect bad women in the space where they're making good women look bad?
yeah, that
Should
seems
we
like
not protect the good women from the bad
bad thing.
women?
But
so that-
also, important to note here, gaming back then was one of the few hobbies, or well, I'll call it a hobby, but maybe not sure
It
about
might be a
that.
hobby.
It could be a hobby that accepted people from all over the world, regardless of their skin color, their race, their culture,
Didn't matter who
gender,
you were.
because
it didn't matter who
all
you were
that
playing against.
mattered was that you loved the games.
It didn't matter who you were playing against. You still wanted to screw their mom.
Yeah, well,
That's literally like nobody cares. Like, oh, go make a sandwich. I love the videos where like the little 12-year-old kids yelling at a girl like, "Oh, you're a girl. Go make me a sandwich." And then they're like, "I killed you like 700 times in this game. I don't know what you're talking about." But the best one I think I ever saw was this girl, an actual gamer girl, because she actually does play. She actually is good. She was playing a game, and I think it was a Call of Duty or something. And she was beating this guy, and he's getting so mad about it. And he's telling her to go back to the kitchen. He's like, "I'm gonna go screw your dad and give him a child that he can actually love." And I was just like, "Oh, it was so freaking good!" Like, it was a great burn. I was like, "Props!"
damn,
And she's
yeah.
apparently notorious for having these quips to come back at people. It's like, sure, this one kid out of like a million might be actually misogynistic or actually sexist, whatever. but that's not every single gamer. But
It
you
might
called him
actually
out.
be the
He
minority.
ate his own
Wow.
shoes. Like he got the worst he could possibly look, and it's spread all over the internet now. That
Ooh,
person
yikes.
is never gonna live that down if somebody finds out who he is, and
You'll
his
never
friends,
recover from that.
his friends will never let him forget it. It's just not gonna happen. And that's the beauty about it, is that it could have been a guy. Imagine if a guy's like, I'm gonna go screw your dad and get him pregnant so he has a son he can love. That'd
Wait
be
a
even
minute.
more. I know, it'd be that much worse. But it's just
That
like,
doesn't make any sense.
it doesn't make sense, but it's offensive to the guy. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's she said it because she wanted to offend him
Mhm.
and also to shame him. Do that. Doesn't matter who you are. You could do that as anybody. But she did it, and then she did it well. We applaud that. We don't have any problems with that. We don't have a problem with her existing.
Mhm.
There are people who have their own
Contrary to
opinions.
popular belief, we actually like gamer girls.
Well, some of them.
If they are actually gamer girls.
Now, don't you be misogynistic and sexist and put limitations on women, good sir.
A lot of people went, yeah, I do hate women. They're ruining my video games. I feel like that had a very polarizing, horrible effect on gaming news and amateur journalism and conversations around gaming.
I don't think she knows what
It has always been shit.
I think she's familiar with amateur journalism because that's what she is. She's an amateur.
Could be,
I mean,
yeah.
one
But
could argue
games
I am
journalism
also
has
an
always
amateur.
been shit.
I'm not talking just game journalism. I'm talking just journalism in general.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
I'm
Journalism
an
in general has always been shit.
I'm an amateur journalist, but I am not as bad as her.
Sure.
I'm willing to be like, yeah, I was wrong. I'll learn from that and move on to that. I'm willing to do that. I don't think she is.
But a November Hotel hasn't talked nearly enough about how woke video games are ruining the gaming industry, so let's hear
You haven't even listened to him, and you're already mocking him.
him out.
Yeah.
Why is everyone
I'll bother.
Lovely. Why's your ad block not working?
Because it's not on Firefox. It's on Brave.
Okay, well, good job.
Why does everybody who... Ironically, this is a Pi ad block extension ad. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll get through this.
spiraling over YouTube banning ad block?
Desktop audio needs to go too.
Like, chill guys, just use Pi. It's a free Chrome extension that's actually made by one of the founders of Hunt.
In fact, as sad
All right, now we're back in business.
as it is, many gamers have become more tolerant and accepting of these problems over here, and they are
Okay, bad monetization, broken games, priority of graphics, bland, repetitive game design. All valid
All bad.
issues.
Yeah.
as vocal about bad monetization or buggy releases these days. They've become too tolerant of these issues, in my opinion. To the
Yes,
look.
punching armor is going to be totally not going to break your hand. And the other one's just going to stand there while you're doing it and not just turn around and shoot you. Goodness.
To be fair, they would have missed anyway.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like they would have missed and it would have ricocheted and killed her.
point where it doesn't really impact sales like it used to.
Again, when it comes to like AAA titles and these massive studios,
You're making fun of us being so like overbearing on her time period. She's watching a 15-minute video and her video's an hour and 12 minutes. And she's by herself.
Yeah, I guess.
Every time we add a person to the conversation, it extends the video because we have more people to listen to.
that don't properly compensate their staff, studios where the environment is very unhealthy. I completely agree. There doesn't seem to always be. Sometimes there is a sales dip for a company that has like a really bad microtransaction built into its service, and sometimes the backlash is enough to make them change it. And that
How do you feel about agreeing with her?
Well, I mean, if the
A little.
I don't really care about agreeing as long as the point we agree on is good.
it's good, but there often isn't nearly enough.
You just want to live in your echo chamber.
Right, because I'm not a misogynist, right? Well, okay, I guess
You
it
are.
doesn't apply, but
You are. Don't worry. We know the truth.
okay,
Backlash,
fair
and we
enough.
kind of accepted this as a norm of AAA games. I don't I'm waiting for the woke
argument rather than-
news.
Instead, the big
She's like, I'm waiting for the woke news. Like, no, you're not. You're arguing that you're waiting for it and it's not here yet. But he's leading up to it.
biggest deterrent for modern gamers is game studios and publishers' disgusting focus on creating games for the non-existent modern audience.
The non-existent modern audience.
Because it doesn't
Women
exist.
don't play games.
That's not what that
nothing
means.
to do with women playing games. That's
The
not
modern
the
audience doesn't exist because women
Oh my God.
are not the modern audience, they're the old audience.
If you went to the average female gamer, the average, mind you,
Okay.
they're not playing Call of Duty. They're playing
True.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
They're playing Kingdom Hearts.
The Sims.
They might be playing Final Fantasy. They're not playing the hardcore games that are heavily influenced by male gamers. Like, that's just not what they're doing. It's just not a thing. Now, does not mean that there are not girls who play Call of Duty, girls who play the more male-centric games. That's no one's preventing them from buying the game. But what we're saying is that if you go and buy this game that's designed for men and you're a woman, you can't be like, well, I didn't relate to this character because it's a man character. And it's like, well, maybe because the game is not intended for you as the target audience. Not saying that you can't play it. Not saying that you're not allowed to play it. Just that you're not the actual audience.
But also, more important, the modern audience does not mean women.
Yes. The modern audience means anything modern.
Women, in general, are not actually part of the modern audience. In part because the modern audience doesn't really exist, right? It's well, maybe like 3 people, I guess. But that's hardly an
I
audience.
mean, I would say 3.5, but that's cutting it short.
Fair enough.
Oh, come on, that was good. You gotta admit that was good.
I guess it was fine.
That's so. What an interesting word. The non-existent modern audience.
The reason it's called non-existent is not because there's literally nobody that exists that does that, but it's because it's such a small percentage that it might as well not exist.
Because guess what? The modern audience means people who want to see intersectionality first and foremost in their games, beyond above gameplay.
Like if you go to any executive and say, here's your, like the marketing guys go to the executive and say, okay, here's the thing. We have this group of people that's so tiny and practically non-existent, but they want this content. It's like, well, will we get their views? Yes. But we're going to lose 20% of our actual audience. Like, they're not going to, in their right minds, go, that's a good deal.
Indeed.
They're not going to.
So,
Because
also,
you're not going to lose a percentage of people to gain a non-existent percentage of people. That's just not how that works.
another
there might
reason why it's called non-existent is because the people that are pandered to with the inclusion of the ideology are people that normally would not play games.
Not even play games. They don't buy the games that they want to promote or that they do
Yeah.
promote. They're like, man, this game's going to be great. And then they don't buy it. They don't support it. They tell other people to go buy it, or they're a bigot, but they don't go buy it themselves, which makes them, by definition, a bigot.
Wait a minute.
I know, right?
In other words, the obsession with creating woke video games.
Look at this. It's like, look, see, in this you're playing a woman of color.
Nobody cares.
No,
She's a woman
no,
of color.
that's-
That's literally not the point. It's
The
not.
point is that the whole game is about identity politics.
But she wouldn't know that because she's never played it.
Right, this is
Isn't that
just for
fucking
fun.
mental?
Yes.
Women of color don't
Yes, you are mental.
play games. I literally follow some groups of.
She was about to say some
Ah, yes.
characters. That do
Black
this.
girl gamers. Is that some groups that she specifically follows?
Yes, because November Hotel is going to cry because you follow a different group. Oh no. Oh no. As the Australians say. But
Do they? Is that how they speak?
No. Yeah, they do the R, the hard R.
Well, it's strange
Specific.
language.
It's the N word with the hard R. Nar.
Specifically black female gamers who exist because of this perception that women of color don't play games,
No,
and
they
the
exist
abuse that they
because-
face online, especially on
Abuse.
What?
everyone gets abuse. It's not because you're a woman or a black woman or a
Yeah.
person of color. Everyone
Have you
gets
never
abused.
played Counter-Strike 2?
Have you never played League of Legends? Probably not.
Exactly. Well, probably not.
She probably hasn't played either of those. But the point is that gamers can be toxic because they're passionate.
Yeah.
I know, because I was one of the people who was really passionate about playing League of Legends, and then it
Well,
just got
that
high
must
blood
have been a
pressure.
mistake. Whew, yikes.
It was a mistake.
Online gaming, like,
Any examples in 2020?
Taking something that was actually really fun to play and then making it horrible because professional play is
Mm-hmm.
a bad move.
Bad move. Yeah.
For alone, do we have of that being the reality? Conquered, Flintlock.
Conquered.
Conquers. Conquer.
Sorry, November Hotel, but that was a pretty bad one. It's Concord.
Suicide.
alright, hold on. A Suicide Squad? But that's based on the movie. Is it because
No,
based
it's
on the
not.
movie. It's Suicide Squad killed the. See, this is what I told the whole hashtag gamer girl. Like, I'm aware. I'm awoke. Well, you're not
Mhm.
awoke about the fact that this does not have anything to do with the actual.
It has nothing to do with the movie. I mean, half the characters don't even exist in the movie. Movie was bad as well, but that's another point.
movies were bad.
And she assumes it's because Harley Quinn is a main character, but that's
Harley Quinn's a
that's
main
the
character and she's a
least
woman? Is it because you get to
of
play
the
like...
But
problem?
everybody likes Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and
Nobody
everyone
dislikes
likes
Harley
playing
Quinn.
as sharks. Maybe I don't know
now-
if that's a thing.
I mean, it's kind of cool. To be honest, it's pretty based. I mean, Beardo plays a shark in what's it called? What's it called? Party Animals. And
yeah, I mean, sharks are cool animals.
they're cool, whatever. But like, it's not that. Like
The reason
the reason
no one
people don't
likes
like
this
Harley
game,
Quinn is because Harley Quinn has progressively gotten worse from her interesting character. The
yeah,
interesting character is no longer interesting. It's
Right.
just overpowered. That's it.
she got updated for the modern audience.
Yeah.
And no
which
one
was
likes
a
that.
massive downgrade, ironically.
Is a shark? Hold on, go back. I need to look up the other games. What's Concord? It was a multiplayer first.
I'm a gamer girl. What's
Wow.
Concord?
Oh, yikes! Yes.
Person hero shooter. It was a failed FPS that shut down and might be making a comeback according to Google.
Yeah, but it's
I'm
not.
gonna have to type in Concord woke. This is gonna ruin my search history. What?
You ruined everything, not them.
It's
Sorry.
woke because it's got identity
woke about it.
politics. and
Ah,
it's
Steam community, can someone explain why people say this game is woke? Thank you. Ugly characters, pronouns, black trans character. So the game had pronouns in it? People
No.
are so fucking weird. He hasn't explained about this modern audience thing. I'm still really
You haven't explained this modern audience thing either. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
confused about
We've
this
explained it a
fake
bit.
modern audience.
So the modern audience doesn't exist? Is she saying the modern audience doesn't exist? So why are we
Well-
writing everything? Why are the executives going, prepare everything for the woke? Or not for the woke. for
The modern
audience?
audience.
Like,
Yes.
why would they be doing that if it doesn't exist?
So yeah, Concord failed not because it had those characters in it, but because the only thing it had going for it was the fact that those characters were those identities. That's why it's woke.
It
the
also
gameplay-
failed because it was nothing particularly new in the industry either.
Yeah, but that's because the
And-
focus was
and-
on the intersectionality, and that's the gameplay.
Not even that,
Is
but it was
not
it
a
was
thing.
also because they were charging you an exorbitant amount of money for stuff you can get for free to play.
Okay, that's true. That they also did that. So it's bad monetization as well.
It was bad across the board, but the woke stuff was on top. There's the icing on top of the cake.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there were no straight white men. There
Mhm.
wasn't a single white man, let alone straight, in the entirety of the lineup. They were all flamboyant as all get out.
Yeah.
And
Suicide
they're-
Squad, on the other hand, it's woke because, of course, it's again focused on the ideology, but also
disrespect
gameplay
characters
sucks.
Also called
The story sucks. Writing sucks. They disrespect beloved characters. I don't even know why you would. Did they have microtransactions or stuff in there?
Yes.
I
they
don't
did.
think so. Did they?
They did, and they got yelled at, and I think they pulled them out.
Yeah, okay, they might have removed it. But it's a woke game. Because
Oh,
the gameplay got pushed back.
Flintlock. Let's just have a quick look at Flintlock. See,
I don't know what the fuck either. I'm a gamer girl.
What's woke about that? Flintlock woke. I'm really typing in all these things. It's got a queer character. I think it has a queer character. We exist.
Okay. Do you know the difference, Emma, between a queer character and a character that is queer? Because you clearly
doesn't.
don't. You clearly don't. You've lost the plot. Yeah, here's the plot, as they used to say in some of the videos or music I listen to. So here's the thing. A queer character is a person who everything you need to know about them is that they're queer. A person that is queer is a person who has a personality and has a story, growth, etc., but just happens to be queer. These are two different things. They're not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So to imply that they are the same thing is disingenuous and dishonest.
Of course,
And
queer
gaslighting.
is also slightly ill-defined. So
Because they're clearly not happy people. Sorry.
exactly. Yeah.
We're real. We play games.
No, I think you
We're
are
not-
mistaking it with the
I think
word
it's,
gay.
We're queer. We play games. I'm like, you are the non-existent mom.
fake audience.
The people who call themselves queer are 9 times.
It's
out of
not
10
because it's fake. It's
using a
non-existent
title
because
and they're
there
not
are
actually
only like 3.5 people I heard.
Yeah.
I've literally played video games my entire life.
And you didn't even know about Concord, Flintlock, Suicide Squads,
I mean,
or
everybody.
Dustborn.
I know people who didn't even hear about the controversy or anything. They just heard that Concord was a massive failure.
Yeah.
Not because it was woke, just that it was a massive failure.
My mother heard about Concord and brought it up in a conversation randomly. And she doesn't know anything about games.
And it's in Dutch to boot.
Yeah.
So she probably got every single pronoun wrong.
Probably, yes.
Because they're all he.
No, that's specifically on
no,
the region.
I know, but she was talking about it, wasn't she?
Yeah, sure, but it's not because it's Dutch.
Well, I mean, Dutch is weird anyway.
I was a baby.
Okay,
I
fine.
couldn't even lift my head when I was a baby.
Okay, I started playing.
Yeah, babies
I-
generally can't lift their heads.
I
That's
started
true.
playing video games, I think, when I was like 2. I played the
2?
first NES. It was Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. And I
Damn.
played more Duck Hunt than I played Super Mario Bros.
I think I was
Didn't really know what I was
6
doing,
or so.
and I was terrible at it. But I played video games. And then when I got a little bit older, I got introduced to MechWarrior 2 on the PC.
Mm.
And I could not play by myself because I was too small to sit in the chair and play. So I had to have a teenager that was a friend of the family. We were at their house, and he had to sit me on his lap so I could reach the mouse, and I got to play MechWarrior 2 with him. And it was freaking fantastic. It's a fire soundtrack. If you've not listened to the MechWarrior 2 soundtrack or the remake, oh, it's so freaking good. It's great. I listen to it all the time still. But that got me into MechWarrior, and I didn't even know what BattleTech was. Go figure. But it's like I've been playing games for most of my life.
Yeah.
There was a gap there between because I didn't have access to them because my family didn't have them, and a lot of my friends didn't have them. But I remember when Ocarina of Time came out, and I
Long
went
time
to
ago.
a friend's from school's house, and we played it for like 7 hours straight. We didn't know what we were doing because we were freaking young kids. We didn't know what we were doing.
I think I started at 5 or 6.
I think we were like 8 years old at the time when that came out or something. I don't remember. But like, it was just all of this. I can say I'm a gamer because, I mean, I played a ridiculous amount of hours of games. But also, I mean, not just because I buy them. Like, I have all these, Star Wars games for Switch and whatnot. I've got the Zelda, Breath of the Wild here. I've got Tears of the Kingdom down here. I've got all this different stuff. I play these games. I have my PS5 sitting right here next to me.
Yeah,
Xbox
I
is
literally
on
have
the
my
wall.
Switch over here.
Yeah, mine's behind the actual monitor, so I can't access it right now. But I can pull it up on my TV that's right next to me here. I can pull it up on my computer. I have this little, where is it? Here. This little thingy right here. I don't know if you can, well, yeah, I'm not going to.
Ooh, yeah, that's not very visible, but
the
GB operator.
And it's this little thing. It's this little thing here
Mm-hmm.
that allows you to play Game Boy games
on your computer. Yes.
And also, with other software stuff, you can also do things like play Pokemon, save your Pokemon file to your computer, and duplicate your Pokemon.
Wait a moment. That's illegal.
Actually, it's not. But
Notice here in your... No.
but on top of that, you can take that same save file from your red and blue and yellow, maybe green if you have the Japanese version of it. You can take those files with those original characters and move them all the way to the current day stuff.
Damn.
Because of things like that. She don't know about that. I can almost guarantee you that. So you don't go and just like, you don't know games. No, I know games. I'm not like the most in depth on every game under the sun, but
Sure, because everyone has their preferred genres.
I used to work at an entertainment store, and I was in charge. I was the head of the video game section. I had to organize all of the games, and when a parent came in and asked, "What's the content of this game?" I could look at the back of it, look at the front of it, and say, "Here's the contents of the game," because they were pretty simple back then. And you could just look at it and say, "Here's the rating. Here's what the back of the thing talks about. Here's what the overall thing. It's a racing game. It's going to have this kind of content in it. Oh, it's a shooting game. It's going to have this kind of content in it. It's an adventure like Sonic Blade game. It's going to have this kind of content." It wasn't difficult. And I could take these games home for free and play them and then bring them back the next day and say, okay, I have a little bit more knowledge of these things. That's something I did for a while. It's kind of like a GameStop, but not quite a GameStop. But I don't know what she has experienced. But it strikes me like her I'm a gamer girl thing is like too much of a push for me to believe that she's just a gamer. Like, show me your consoles, show me your playtime. If it's that big of a deal that you're a gamer, like I could show mine, but nobody cares. I mean, if you ask me for it, I will. But I mean, I don't. Nobody cares.
No, I'm good.
You've seen my game times. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I don't have to see your consoles to believe you.
When you can see my consoles. Sorry, but yeah, like her going waxing eloquently about, oh, I played video games, but I obviously couldn't do it when I was a baby because I couldn't even lift my head as a baby. Nobody's taking you literally. I don't think you were playing it when you were literally popped out of your mom's womb. Or did I misgender your mom? I apologize. And with a freaking Nintendo controller in your hand. Nobody thinks that. We get what you mean because that's how language works.
But you gotta forgive me for that.
I don't.
Squad, Dusthorn, Star Wars Outlaw, and the
I
ones
forgot
that
Star Wars
Star Wars Outlaws, that had a protagonist who's a woman of colour.
No, it's got shitty gameplay.
Yeah.
That's what you should be afraid of.
She's a gaslighter. That's what she does. She gaslights you. She gaslights me. But it only works on people who don't expect it.
It's so like...
She obviously hasn't played it, and if she ever plays it, and then she goes in and is like, this is the bestest game ever, 10 out of 10. You ask her why, she say, because it has a woman of color in it. Not because it's a good Star Wars game, but because it has a woman. That's how you tell it's woke. Yeah. If the people who are developing a movie, a game, or like when they went to the Rings of Power actors and stuff, and what do they first say? The actor that plays D says, like, I'd be to play the first black dwarf, or the first female dwarf, or the first female black dwarf. And then
this is beginning to set things right.
First elvish guy of color, and I get to play, the gay one, and freaking Ian McKellen was never gay. That totally didn't happen. Whatever. Yeah. But like, they're pushing the concepts of equality, not welcome to Tolkien's world. Because it's not Tolkien's world. That's the story. But the point is that everything they pushed was about identity politics. That's how you know something's woke. If you're not pushing identity politics, and it happens to have that stuff in there, it's not a woke game. It's a game with other content in it. You may or may not like that content, but the point is the content's there.
You know that the cartoon that's the bird that's like, I'm angry and we are not about me? That's literally anti-woke men on YouTube. The protagonist?
What game was that?
I don't think that's a game. It's probably a meme.
A meme? I'm thinking Angry Birds is the only thing I'm thinking.
This isn't a white man.
We don't care if he's a white man. We want an alien for Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, human is also fine, I guess.
No, human's boring. I mean, at the very least, it could have been a character creator. then you could have
Yeah, that would
all
be nice.
the persons of colors you could ever dream about. You could drown yourself in them in Minecraft. But
yeah,
that's not
if
what we
the main character was actually, you know, an interesting person,
or attractive.
or that,
But even if she was attractive, but all she did when she opened her mouth was spew out stupidity, we
then
wouldn't
it's
like
still
it.
not good. Yeah.
It's still not good. It's not just because we like attractive people, because we do like attractive people. We prefer attractive over unattractive.
You know,
Duh.
normal would also work if the personality is like really.
Yeah, a normal
amazing.
person doesn't punch a stormtrooper in the head when they're wearing a helmet.
Yeah, okay. I guess. Well, let's not say that word.
I don't even
No.
have to say anything, right? You all understand why that's wrong. I'm the main character, and he
That's the problem.
What?
You're the
You're
main
the main-
character. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
woke YouTubers all have main character syndrome.
YouTubers.
Do they? Hey,
We're
wait a
the
minute.
ones who
Isn't that
say
you
we
as well?
don't want it to be us. We want. If you're gonna make it about the person who's playing, you need to make a character creator. And if you're gonna make the character creator, you have to allow all different types. Now here's the
Yeah.
thing. Dragon Age Veilguard was mocked specifically for this because Madame Savvy went in and is like, I have a very small butt. But they can't even let my butt be represented in this.
Mm-hmm.
She showed side by sides to what was in the game. The maximum slider has a smaller butt than Madame Savvy, and Madame Savvy's like 110 pounds soaking wet. Like they did not even try. They're like, oh, we're gonna, have this, we're gonna have that. No.
I mean, didn't they say it was physically impossible
Yes.
to have larger size?
Or they can't have big boobs. The boobs are like flat. Like it's not the boobs that get bigger, it's the whole amount of the whole chest comes out. Like the whole actual chest comes out.
Right.
And
But
then-
the issue, because we're straying a bit from the actual topic,
No, I'm talking about main career center. Like it's
the main character, right?
yeah,
she
that's
said main
correct.
character. Sometimes it's just wrong.
But yeah, but like if I wanted to be the main character, you'd have to have a really big dick. Like it's not even funny. Sorry. No, like if you wanted a main character, you can't have a single person because the lady who played Star Wars Outlaws, ironically, the actress for it, is actually moderately attractive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't do her face because it just doesn't work for women. But they can do man's perfect.
Yeah, no,
Even the attractive.
it's
one.
too difficult to make accurate.
But on
things.
top of that, even if you were to make main character syndrome kind of things, everybody who is not that particular actress, whether it be Latino or whatever personal color thing that she's supposed to identify as, everybody who's not that would not like that character.
Mm-hmm.
By her own admission. She wouldn't like it because she doesn't fit the actual character description. So that's just ridiculous.
New theory. You know what's not woke? Tasty cereal. Today's video is sponsored.
Okay, we're gonna
Let's skip the sponsor.
video.
Release are already looking like they're going to be flops, like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Dragon.
I mean, Ubisoft thought it was
I
going to be
mean,
bad.
Dragon Age Veilguard, we
Well, Veilguard failed horribly.
we
It's
looked
not
at
much,
very specifically, right? It's already dead almost.
Well, it's not it's dead. It just never peaked in good numbers. It got killed by a beta.
Yeah.
Literally.
Whew.
It got murdered by 4
First hour
times in the
of the
first
beta.
hour of the beta. Killed the entire peak of a week.
Age Veilguard.
Assassin's Creed Shadows. Oh, that's a brilliant example. Oh, shut
You don't know.
up. Dragon Age
Current,
Veilguard better be good, right?
Oh, shut up. Why are you saying, oh, shut
Better
up?
be
You're
good.
dismissing it.
Veilguard
Fucking
has
right.
failed.
You know, all the Dragon Age games let you be gay. I've got to talk to you.
Nobody cares that they let you be gay. They also let you be blood mages.
Because guess what? The dragon. Well, let's not talk about Inquisition, maybe. But the previous ones, they're not woke.
Well, even Inquisition, I don't
Because,
think is woke. They just
yeah,
had
Inquisition
one freaking
also
word
does-
in it for
yeah.
no reason.
That's fair. Inquisition does have some. It's
I've heard
starting
it's-
to get there, but
I've
it's
heard
not yet.
mid. Aside from everything else, I've heard it's mid.
Hmm
It's okay. That's what I've heard.
It's definitely not the best of the three original.
I don't know if it's better
Nice.
than 2 or if 2's better than it. I don't know. But I know that
Generally, I
everybody
think
loves the first one.
everyone loves the first one. Yes.
Yeah.
2, I think, is generally considered the bad one, but then Inquisition is often ignored. So how it relates to 2 is complicated.
I mean, you might as well just play 1 then in that case.
Yeah, and Veilguard, let's see, when did it release?
Not long ago.
Release date, 21st of October, 21
A
days
month
ago. And it's already down to, let's see, in the last, when was this? Last Sunday, only 40,000 people playing on Steam.
Less than half than they would hope.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's dropping. People are getting tired of it. Or I heard the refunds were like amazingly.
Yeah,
expensive.
refunds. Whew.
You know who
That's,
you know who takes the brunt of those refunds? The companies that are storefronting it. I go to my LGS. I'm like, you might want to tone down how many copies of this you're getting. Yeah,
Did they listen?
I didn't even check, honestly. I was just like, they're surprisingly based, but they also want to buy things that people want to buy. And I was
Mhm.
like, put this one on special order. Like, if they want it, they can have it. But it's gonna be like sports games. You're gonna have to pay 25 cents per copy because there's just gonna be a horde of them showing up, and you'll lose money at 25 cents a copy because you're not gonna sell them for that.
Yep.
But
about this anti-woke controversy because it's so fucking stupid that it's a great example of the fact that
she just shoves Assassin's Creed Shadows out of the way because that's so shut
Yeah,
up.
because it's
Because she
obviously a failure.
because she doesn't have an argument for it.
this is all built around knee-jerk reactions that people have when they see something that is not.
Is it a knee-jerk reaction to watch a trailer and the trailer tell you what's going to be in the game, like what's the content, and then
I
you're
mean,
like, I don't like that. That's not a reason.
Sure,
That's not a knee-jerk
for some people,
reaction.
it could be a knee-jerk reaction.
Not if it's obvious.
Okay, sure, maybe not. But maybe some people just immediately see the trailer and then, oh, no, never mind.
Well, then that means the trailer didn't do its job.
Sure.
Because the trailer's job is to get you interested. And if
Yeah,
you're not
but
interested,
there's always going to be a few people that do knee-jerk reactions, but I think
Sure.
most people actually look into
what
games that
she's
they
calling
might
a
want to
knee-jerk
buy.
reaction, I don't have enough faith in her ability to be genuine.
Okay,
like,
fair.
To claim that everything she represents as a knee-jerk reaction, aka we saw all that happened with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Is
Yes.
it a knee-jerk reaction to assume it's going to be bad?
No.
Is it a knee-jerk reaction to look at what happened to Dragon Veil or Dragon Age: The Veilguard?
No.
Is it a knee-jerk reaction to see Ghost of Yotai and be like, I'm questioning
Probably
this.
going to fail.
I'm questioning this right now.
Well, it might
No,
still
not,
do
it's not a
decent.
knee-jerk. Well, I'm not saying it won't succeed. I'm saying it won't do
Mhm.
as well as Tsushima. Like,
Yeah, definitely not.
what we saw, nothing in the game itself was necessarily bad. They had a female character, but they based the
It's
female
in
character
itself, that's
off of
fine.
a male character. So you might as well have the male character. So but we also know that the same
It's a different
company-
place though, right?
well, it's the same company. Well, yeah, it's a different time period. It's like 400 years different.
Oh yeah, but it's like in
It's like the 1614s or something like that.
in the top islands. I forgot
Yeah,
what it's called.
Yote is a totally different area. Yes, but here's the thing: if you have a group of people, like the people who made Ghost of Tsushima, don't work there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're somewhere else. They have a whole different lineup of people who worked on Ghost of Yote. They just stole stuff from Ghost of Tsushima, like assets and stuff, and made Ghost of Yotai. Now, is Ghost of Yotai going to inherently be wrong just because there's a female character? No.
No,
Could you
because
make it
female
work?
characters can be
Yes.
perfectly fine.
Does it make as much sense as a male character? No, especially considering she uses the two sword style, which is a man's style. That was, you could have just picked the man at the time period to do that, and then just done that. But there's different arguments for that. But
Mhm.
the point being, we had more problem with the actress who plays her than we do the actual thing. Because you know what's ironic? Remember in Star Wars Outlaws, you couldn't make the face accurate because too difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to Ghost of Yotai, and they made the face very accurate.
Wait a minute.
That's the problem I have with Ghost of Yotai, because I'm not going to play it in English anyway, because screw English screw English dubbing. It's terrible anyway. But I have the problem is that I have to see what I know is an actual woke activist, ideological, intersectional person. I have to see her face every time it shows my face in the game.
Yeah, it's like that
That's the
in Mass
problem.
Effect, that reporter person that you have to
I
take on
haven't
your
played
ship,
Mass
right?
Effect yet.
Oh, okay.
I think I have the first one, but I just never gotten around to it.
Yeah, so in I'm not sure which one is. I think it's 3. There's one of the IGN
I heard Andromeda's not worth playing.
journalists.
That's all I heard. But
Oh no, don't do Andromeda. Just skip it entirely, I guess.
yeah.
And just skip 5 as well, probably.
We don't know if
At
there's
this
gonna be a
point.
5. Is there a 4? I don't even know there's a 4.
No, Andromeda is technically
okay.
4.
Yeah,
And
so we'll skip 4.
they
I
just
heard 1,
it
2,
doesn't
and
have
3
the
are
number.
okay.
1, 2,
One-
and 3, great. 1's probably the best story wise.
I mean, it's the same thing for basically every
2 is
franchise.
probably the best gameplay wise. And then 3 is a slight downgrade
but still doable.
gameplay wise, but still doable. But the story is not as good as either of the 2 previous
Yeah.
ones.
I mean, checks out. I mean, most franchises, the first one's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that comes afterwards, because they're just like, let's just shove that money out there, and
Yeah.
they don't do as good of a job because they're not innovating anything per se.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But I think it's 3 that has a character that's also based on a real person, who is a journalist, right?
Is this the lady who has like the big bug eyes?
It could be, but I'm not sure
There's like a
which
black
one you're
lady with
referring
short
to.
hair and her
No,
eyes,
it's not
like,
that
pop
one.
out like really high. And she's
No,
like,
that's in the Star Wars game, I think.
oh, is it Star Wars? Okay. Well, I just know that every time she's in a video game,
That's
they
in
get her
Jedi.
they get her face. Jedi Fallen Order, probably.
Fallen Order, yeah.
They get her face accurate every single time.
Yeah,
Somehow.
every time.
Magically.
I saw a meme recently that said something along the lines
Magic.
of maybe all 3D modelers are just in a contest to see how well they can make that character's face.
Probably. I mean, it's accurate, but
Representing them. White men are not the majority in this game. So the thing with Assassin's Creed...
Okay.
white men are the majority of Western.
But wait a moment. Are we talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows now? Or?
Now we are.
Shadows. A lot of the more recent Assassin's Creed games have had you play as multiple protagonists, play as 2 different protagonists, or choose between them. One of them is a samurai known as Yasuke, who...
Yasuke.
Yeah, it's Yasuke.
Well, it's Yasuke according to the Japanese. I don't know. I don't
Maybe,
care.
sure.
I could care less, honestly.
Typically, the Suyu.
They're making the samurais gay!
I mean, she is.
I mean,
they are making her black.
isn't
and
he
gay.
actually gay?
He's actually gay too. Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
black.
they are.
I mean, so the
Both?
anti-woke crowd immediately got all up in arms about how you're literally changing history to make it
No,
work.
no, no.
Man,
The problem here is that you're disrespecting a native, non-white culture.
Mhm.
You're
Imagine-
erasing.
Imagine having a game based in Africa
Yeah,
with a
whew.
white protagonist,
I,
and
you
he's
know,
straight.
all I have to
This is
say
the
here is
horror.
stop Asian hate, right? That's
Yeah,
the thing.
Well, she hates Asians pretty hardcore, obviously,
If you make
because they're not black. If they were black,
an
they would love them.
Assassin's Creed game in Japan,
Everybody
and
has been
not
clamoring for one, and they
have
wanted
a Japanese main
character.
character
Mhm.
as a samurai, but
Mm.
really we want the ninjas, right?
Shinobi, but yes.
Shinobi, yeah, sure, but in like common
You're
words.
the non-existent modern audience.
The samurai is cool to have, sure, but why would you make it that character that is historical
Okay,
rather than a non-existent fantasy Japanese person that doesn't have a specific?
so she has already
historical
admitted
presence.
she is not aware of the conversation around these games.
Mhm.
Not at all. Now, here's something we're going to learn you if you don't know, Emma. Samurai do not wear battle armor around town.
Unless there's an attack, then they do.
They're not around town. They're on battlements. They're heading to the front fields. They're
Yeah, but they might be walking through town towards the
they're
field. I don't know.
they're not going to be sauntering around the town. They're
Sure,
going to be they're
sure.
going to be walking the battlements. They're going to be preparing
Fair
to
enough.
sally forth or to repel invaders. They're not. This is like everyday life, walking around in full armor.
Right,
To
like
rap
a
music in your battle.
like
That
a
doesn't happen.
D&D player character, right?
Yeah,
It's basically that.
that's what it is. It's fantasy in a non-fantasy setting. Shocking.
A real historical figure.
But not as
Well,
he's necessarily
that's-
being portrayed. That's
that's-
still in debate.
Debatable, yes.
And just because they hired a literal woke activist as the Japanese historian does not mean that person's correct on everything that they say.
Mhm.
They just didn't double check.
I mean, there's a discussion around whether that matters anyway in what is ostensibly a sci-fi series.
Of course it matters. When you're in the Middle East, you're a Middle Eastern man. When you're in Italy, you're an Italian man. When
So
you're
the
going
key
to
word
all
here
these other
is
places, you're a
verisimilitude, right? We want the setting that is supposedly the historical Japanese setting, but with a slight sci-fi edition, to still feel like the historical setting. It must still be
very off-putted.
representative.
Chewbacca showed up in Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Chewbacca.
That'd be very off-putting, despite being a big fan of Chewbacca.
Mhm.
It's just because it doesn't fit.
Yes.
When people have been asking for a Japanese Assassin's Creed because it's the perfect theme for it. And I love Ezio Auditore. Ezio
Mhm.
Auditore. His games, the perfect games of
I
Assassin's
feel
Creed.
like that's a slight Italian bias there.
Well, yes, I'm Sicilian. What can I say? But
Yeah.
the point being, aside from that, this is the best possible way you could fit this in. Is just have a Japanese man from the time period. Maybe it's a made-up Japanese character. Maybe it's a
Preferably made up, because
preferably made up. Yes.
then
But
you
like
can have them do whatever
every time
fits the
you
story.
have a kind of almost sci-fi-ish feel, like Leonardo da Vinci creating flying contraptions for Ezio, it's because it's a real character that they kind of just tweak a little bit and put it away.
It's always mostly based in
But it's
history.
never who's Leonardo da Vinci banging. It's not about that because it doesn't freaking matter. He's a freaking inventor. He's a person of art. He's an artiste. That's why you expect him to do artist stuff.
Mhm.
You don't expect anything, nothing else about his life matters. It doesn't matter how many tomatoes he eats in the freaking morning. It doesn't matter. We only want things that are relevant to the story. So, if you have a Japanese game where everyone's Japanese, they do have apparently white characters because like the Portuguese or the Dutch.
Yeah, what time? This is Sengoku Jidai, right? Because
Yeah.
Oda Nobunaga is there, so that's like
Early
what,
period.
1500s?
Yeah, it's a pretty early period. But if you have this time period, you're expecting something that fits, and you're like, oh, okay, well, let's pick the one black guy that we have some information, not very much information on. We'll make a lot of assumptions and then turn those into reality. But even if they were to do assumptions, you still shouldn't have him walk around in full battle gear when they're not at battle. You shouldn't have him playing rap music in his battle scenes. You shouldn't have all the things like that one Torii Gate thing that was from like, was it Nagasaki or something? That survived the nuclear fallout and use that as like a representation for your characters because that's totally okay. And then you're not supposed to have these square.
Sorry, I missed this Nagasaki Gate thing. What was that?
You know the Torii Gate?
Yeah, I know what Torii Gates are.
They had a Torii Gate that was like half broken, but it was still standing. And they tried to make an Assassin's Creed. If you look up Assassin's Creed Shadows figurine that they had, it's like a 6 scale or whatever.
Did they put the broken gate in there, or
They did, but that's actually an image from World War II when the nuke went off, and it means something
Yikes.
entirely different to the Japanese people. Basically, Ubisoft stopped doing their research and just put in things that they thought people would like.
Yikes? That's a blunder.
Yeah, and they yanked that sucker fast. Basically, I think Japan was like suing Ubisoft or something. Like it's a national, like literally, their Congress equivalents or whatever were like up in arms about.
Isn't there also like this one statue in a temple in the game that is supposed to be one that you're not allowed to represent in media?
Possibly. I don't remember that particular one. That's a much smaller one, I assume. But the point being is, aside from the character being black, you're not even representing them correctly. You're all about they have to be gay, they have to be pansexual, they have to be this. That's not what they would be focusing on.
And they have
in
to
that
be
time period.
African American.
Well, they have to be if you're Yasuke. But
Mhm.
the point is that they're not even representing Yasuke correctly because they're presuming a lot. They're making up a lot of details that have not been confirmed and are still in hot debate amongst even Japanese scholars because we have very little. It's basically Hera Hammerhand all over again. We have so little information on him. We know that he was a slave. He was brought over by the Portuguese or the Jesuits or whatever. And then Oda basically brought him into his entourage and he became friends with him to some extent. And he carried his weapon. We know nothing else. We don't know if he's an actual samurai or if he's awarded the same things as a samurai. Because a samurai is a class, not inherently a position. Like, you can be part of... Like, the women in the samurai class were not samurais, but they were samurai class. They didn't put on battle gear. They didn't go charge out into the... attack people. But they were still samurai. So he could be a samurai without being an actual samurai. He had no training. He didn't have time to train to be a samurai. He was there only for like a year before Oda got betrayed and, that all went downhill. They just basically gave him back to the Portuguese and like, have your stuff. Like, that was it. And the Japanese weren't even very nice to him about it. Like, they didn't think highly of him. So putting him in there means you have to open the racism card, but then you have to treat it towards Japanese. But I thought the Japanese couldn't be racist against black people. There's a whole bunch of crap, but besides the point. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
But if you are simply an advocate for historical accuracy for whatever reason, that character is absolutely historically accurate. So people got super angry, super worked up.
Okay, false. It's not super historically accurate. It's a historically accurate named individual, but how it's being presented is not inherently historically accurate. That there's a difference, and I know it's a pedantic difference, but that's why pedantic exists.
Super worked up, am I right? People got super angry, super worked up about the game featuring a character that is a real historical figure.
Because they didn't represent him properly.
Because it's debated what his position as this real historical figure was.
That's not even the main
and
point.
They represented him in the wrong way. And we wanted a Japanese main character.
Another and. Come on, what's the and?
Sorry, I forgot where we are.
So, the point being is actually there's actual Ubisoft notes that somebody found where originally it was intended to be a Japanese man.
But they replaced him.
Ubisoft came in and then changed it because of political stuff that was happening in the world.
And the political stuff, that's the real problem that we have. Not...
Because we would have a Japanese man, possibly a Japanese woman, as well as the main characters of the story if they hadn't gotten that political. I think it was around 2020 when they changed that. 2021.
Yeah, sounds right. That seems like
when that happened,
went to shit.
Yep.
He's black.
And the Indiana
Saying because it's black is the problem. That's not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Jones game.
Wait, the Indiana Jones game? I hope that's good too. That's another one.
We all hope they're
It's
good, but we know
not
they're
really
not going
out.
to be. It's not, but it doesn't.
So how do you have heard that it's good?
No, she says, I hope it's good.
No, she says, I have heard that it is good. In an earlier sentence.
The game featuring a character that is a real historical figure because he's black.
And the Indiana
It's not because it's black.
Jones game.
Wait, the Indiana Jones game? I hope that's good too.
She says, I hope that's good.
I've
another
heard
one that I
that's
really
good
hope.
too.
She said, I hope. I heard it.
Yeah?
It's hope. It's hope.
It's good. Indiana
It's a
Jones
great circle.
and the Great Circle. It's not a great title, but the Indiana Jones films don't have
It's not a
particularly
great title,
if I'm
no,
being
I
perfectly
agree.
honest. Okay, so when I look this up, most people are saying, oh great, people are even saying this is woke, which is ridiculous. There's nothing.
How is it ridiculous? You don't even know the first thing about the game, let alone why it would or would not be.
Mm-hmm. Also, you don't even know what woke means in the context of games.
This is ludicrous.
Yes, you are ludicrous.
So the fact that what's his name, November Hotel is unironically being like, this Indiana Jones game featuring this well-known white male protagonist is so woke.
Wait, I thought white people couldn't be, woke, and they couldn't be failing, games because everyone's white, and we all want to be a white man that's straight. What?
It's ruining everything. It's very bizarre. Most people.
It is very bizarre because you just literally fought against that hardcore tooth and nail the entire time, and then now you're going against that same narrative.
Wait a minute.
People seem to be angry that it's in first person.
Well, yes, we want to see the character. We want to see our surroundings too, but we also want to see the character, and you're only going to see fists. Like, do you know how many people?
Like,
play
what is the point
Skyrim
of playing a game with a specific
well-known character
where you play as the character if you're not going to see the character?
Well, imagine playing things like Guild Wars. Like, I play Guild Wars.
No, I suppose if you play Metroid Prime, I guess you don't see Samus.
I think there's a third-person option in there.
No, only if you go in bowl mode.
Skyrim has a third-person mode, but again, Samus
but
is
that's-
also
yeah.
the individual character, and it's technically originally a side-scroll character, so we already know what the character looks like. Now we
Fair
know what Indiana Jones is, but being Indiana Jones is not the same. Like, I play Guild Wars 2, and Guild Wars 2, you have tons of cosmetics. Well, if I'm permanently locked in a first person, I can't see my outfit. What's the point of having the cosmetics?
Exactly.
So we want to see our.
Why play Dark Souls if you can't see your character and the cool outfits?
Because you want Souls like to be taken to another level because you can't do dodge rolls and stuff in first person.
True.
But
no, that would be a nightmare.
People want to see Indiana Jones, but you want to see him in his entirety, like watching a movie. You can't do that from first person. That's the whole point. We want to see it like a movie. We're playing the game, we're controlling him, but it's like a movie. If you hit record and play and you're in third person, you're running around, you whip out your whip, you grab it, you jump across you swing by, you grab the girl, you kiss her a couple times, and you let go of the whip, and then you keep going, you pull out your gun, you shoot the Nazi, and then you walk by and punch the commander, and then you get into the vehicle and you drive away, and it's like, this is awesome! But you're not going to get that because you can't see anything because you're in first person mode.
Yes.
That's the whole point. And your headset keeps falling off. Your headset keeps falling off.
First person is always controversial, especially
But, if it's optional, if it's third person and first person, you know that there will definitely be a mod for third person in this game. No questions about it. There will be a third person.
It might be difficult if they don't render the model or have animations.
Okay. Please explain to me, Sage. Has it ever stopped modders in Skyrim from making entire body types?
No, but it will take a long while.
Not necessarily. Not with the current technology. People probably already have it ready to go as it is. They've had plenty of time. They're like, first person, I want third person. They're just going to town on their computers.
Maybe.
They're
We'll
like,
see.
I've had this model ready for 35 years. Give me the game already and I'll put it in. Like,
that could be the case,
don't
but I don't think
ever
it's
underestimate the modding community. It's a pretty crazy.
No, see, the modding community works, but only if the game is popular enough.
It's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily.
The game doesn't have to be popular. You have to really like the game. Or the
character. But see, if you're not the modder yourself, you have to rely on a good modder.
Most modders
to come in
make stuff because they're passionate about what they're making.
Yeah, I get that.
They're not.
But the likelihood that you get a good modder that likes the game and wants to do that specific thing is significantly lower if the game does not sell well. So it depends on how good the game is.
Yes, but if you go out and put
for how many people it attracts,
if you go out and put a like,
to how likely you get one of those mods, I don't think it will be there.
1 second stage. I was saying if you go out and put out a Blender modeling type thing and say, "Hey, I'm making this modding thing," and it blows up, people will buy the game to get that mod.
Sure,
because they want to experience Indiana Jones.
But a third-person mod is not going to do that, no.
If the game is good and only has some minor problems with it,
Yeah,
people
but
will
then
do
the
that.
game is good. Then they don't buy it
Well,
because
no.
of the third person
It
mod.
can be mediocre, but people are arguing because it's first person. If people are unhappy because it's first person, and you offer them a third person option, they will not be as unhappy. That's
Sure.
just generally how logic works. It's gonna go that direction eventually.
But like people buy, for example, Total War Medieval 2 because they have heard of the Warhammer mod for it, right?
I haven't heard about that, but I heard about the
No,
Lord of the
but
Rings
that's
mod.
an example. You don't buy Medieval 2 Total War because they have a mod that changes the soldiers into, I don't know, clowns or whatever.
Well, yes, but if you're like, I don't like Total War games, and they're all stupid, and somebody comes up saying, by the way, have you heard of the Lord of the Rings mod? I love this game because
Yes,
you like
but
Lord of the Rings.
that's a total overhaul mod.
Yes,
Those are the ones that draw in people to buy the game.
but there's nothing to total overhaul about an Indiana Jones game.
Exactly.
It's already an Indiana Jones game.
So
but-
the mods will not draw in many people to buy the game if they weren't already interested in the game.
How much do you want to bet that they would, like, if you were like Nexus Mods or something, and they try to put up a third person, and they
ban it immediately.
They ban it because it's bigotry to see yourself.
No, I don't think that is going to
That'd
get
be
banned.
so freaking funny, just because. It's not even controversial. There's nothing political about it. It's just like I want to see my whole character when I'm walking around. That's literally it. And what they do, they just ban it because it's right wing. Like, wait, I thought punching Nazis was left wing.
Wait,
Actually, no, it's actually
Ooh.
right wing. Ironically, because Indiana Jones punched Nazis who are left wing. But that's the side point. Anyway,
I think it looks really cool, and I'm really excited.
you know nothing
It
about it.
it
and you're
actually
just-
looks
that right there is
gameplay
what we
wise.
call that right there is called a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, but
It
to be
looks pretty
fair,
cool.
the gameplay looked okay.
It did. I mean, obviously, first person is going to be kind of.
It might be
if-
awkward, but
if
it
they-
could work
If they don't get political or intersectional with anything in the game,
if they keep
could be
the
good.
if
It
they
could
keep
be
the
good.
woke stuff to a minimum, then
and we
it,
want
it might
to
actually be a good
good.
game.
We don't mind if the girl's a strong, independent girl who don't need no man, provided that she's not the one saving Indy.
Exactly,
Because Indy,
because
like the only time
he's the
Indy
main
is saved
character.
by a woman,
He has to do all
like,
the hero stuff.
in Temple of Doom, Indy's saved by a woman because he's fighting somebody, and the woman comes up and pops the guy that he's fighting in the head. That saves him. That's fine.
Mhm.
But it's like every single time he's in an issue, and she's always commenting, "It's like, well, you'll always get into trouble. I have to pull you out of." That's not cool because that's not Indy.
hmm
So you're not representing the.
And you
character
don't
that-
feel like a cool character if you play indie like that.
I'd be like, why would I want to play Beta Cuck freaking Simulator 2025? Like,
Yeah.
no
Whew,
one wants
yikes.
that.
But then, you know, I'm an
Maybe Emma would.
idiot. Why are people... I don't
She
No
said
comment.
it. I didn't say anything.
even know why people are saying that's woke. I can't even...
Because you literally just
well-
saw it for the first time 15 seconds ago. You know nothing about the game. You
Mhm.
didn't watch the trailer, probably.
But also, we don't really know yet if it will be woke because this could be good still.
There's questionable content, and we're hoping we're mistaken. That's
Yeah.
where we're at the moment. But November Hotel's making a point because of those potential controversies. We're worried about these things. We're
Mhm.
hopeful that they won't be that way, but we're worried about them nonetheless.
even find it when I search it. So God knows whether...
Because that's
Yeah,
not how
because-
you do search and research. You freaking
We
have to
don't know
actually
yet
dive into
because
it.
all we have are a few signs, early signs that may
We see
point
the
towards
symptoms of the
wokeness.
sickness and the illness, and we want to make sure it's cured before we buy the game.
Exactly.
virus.
Now, I think it's important to note that
Once
a
we
lot
get
of games
closer to
are
release,
usually
that will become
objectively
more
bad
clear.
or average games with or without the wokeness in them. But a company that prioritizes DEI and ESG scorecards
Okay.
See, this is
Burnout.
about prioritizing. That's the thing.
We all experience it at some point. It's so important to me that I've actually been
Sorry?
working on it in therapy.
Keep talking.
In fact, with the help
Sure.
I'm trying.
We're gonna-
I'm trying to get through this. So
Um,
here we go. We got it. It's stupid ads.
I have to go back to glossary corner, I'm afraid. I would say this is coded language. Much like woke is kind of coded language now.
You can't do the bare minimum research on a game you spent 15 seconds looking at. You're not going to be able to figure out coded language. That's no way.
Mm-hmm.
For people who are generally just sort of sexist and racist.
Like you.
DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
It's actually diversity, inclusion, and equity.
Again, the sort of thing when a normal person just hears that, they wouldn't have a problem with it.
They would,
Because they don't know
works.
what it is, right?
Well,
They
I don't have a
hear
problem with something I
diversity,
don't know,
equity, and
yes.
inclusion, and they hear, oh, being nice to people.
By the way,
But that's
being
not
ni-
what it's actually.
I don't know if anybody is
about.
aware of this, but being nice is not a virtue. Just
Mhm.
throw that out there. Being kind is a virtue. Being nice is not a virtue. But also, people not being aware of what it means and being like, "Oh, that sounds fine," is totally different than somebody being, "I'm on board,"
Mhm.
because they don't know what it means. They can't be on. You literally cannot be on board with something you don't know what it is.
I mean, there might be people that say that even if they don't know it yet, what it means. But
They might have somebody like give them a brief, like, "Oh, well, it just means that life is fair for people." Oh, I'm okay with that. That's not what it is.
Mhm.
But that's what they think it is.
Yeah,
Because
but
that means they're not on board with the EI.
you
They're
can be on board while
they're
being
on board with the-
mistaken.
They're
on
on
the
board with
details
the
of-
straw man idea of what it is.
Yeah,
They're
sure.
not on board with the actual idea. But then there's the people who's like, okay, the people who are aware of how meritocracy works. Anybody who's ever held a job or understands how basic economics works should understand how meritocracy works. It's not difficult. It's a very simplistic form of content.
Mhm.
If you understand how that works, you're not okay with EI inherently. Because it doesn't promote good. It promotes schlop.
What's wrong with equality? Why?
Equality
not
is
equality.
good. But what was the word in DEI again? Was that equality? I don't recall.
Equity.
Equity. Wait a minute.
But also, just because we have the same rights because we're both citizens does not mean that we are the same biologically in terms of strength. I think
Yeah.
even with my medical
I'm much
problems,
stronger, of course.
with my medical problems, I could still lift more than Emma.
Sure.
It's not going to be that hard. And that's with me having problems with lifting stuff because of work injuries and stuff. But the point being, we're not equal biologically, but we are equal citizen-wise. But I don't think she's an American citizen, but that's beside the point. But like, if we were both American citizens, we'd have the equal rights under the law. But that does not mean we're equal in every aspect of our lives. There's differences. She might be more attractive to some people than me. Okay, I'm not equal with her in that regard. Whatever. We're not equal in intelligence either. That's pretty obvious. I have my dumb moments, but I'd like to think I'm at least bare minimum average intelligence, right? Like I'm not completely retarded, but I mean I'm retarded, but that's not the same kind. But she just doesn't even try. Like we're watching her right now not try. It's funny. And also kind of sad, but it's funny that she's not even trying. So whatever.
Angry about equality.
We're not. Stop gaslighting us.
You know? ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance.
Which is not where it's supposed to be in the government.
ESG is a weird one that's being adopted more because, as I understood it, it was more about.
Notice how 90% of this video is all political ideology, and it's not even about what he's talking about. Like, he mentions it, but he's mentioning it as its effect on things. He's not mentioning it as in, like, you should be this instead of this.
Being sort of environmentally conscious as well as socially conscious when you're investing and things like that. So it's a little bit strange to bring that in to the woke conversation. But again, it's just
not when it has to do with finances and how people get their financing. Not when entire firms have this concept. You're muted, by the way.
So ESG is not about being socially conscious and environmentally conscious. It's about being a certain group of investors demanding that the people they invest in do their what they prefer, and that's the ESG program. So they say you must be this or you don't get any money.
It's extortion, essentially.
Extortion, essentially, yes.
Just more words for woke, basically. I mean,
Again, proving she doesn't know what she's talking about.
it's very bad and terrible for studios to focus on diversity and inclusivity, is what is being said.
When that's the focus, yes. Absolutely.
Literally
Because
what is
we
being
want
said.
Meritocracy
We want quality in meritocracy.
and quality.
This is
because
what gets
meritocracy gives quality.
That's how it works.
me always with this conversation, especially again in the hiring
Nothing gets you, and you get nothing. That's the whole problem here.
in the workplace and that sort of thing, is the idea that no, it should be the best person for the job.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Obvious.
I wonder why they have this instinctive reaction that the best person for the job couldn't be somebody who isn't a straight white man.
We never said that.
You implied it, Emma. You're the one who said, well, they don't want a woman or a person of color instead of the person who's the best for the job. You said that. You are the one who's promoting that concept. Nobody is saying that women or people of color, or whatever you want to call them, minorities, cannot be the best person for the job.
Mm-hmm.
You go to construction
Well,
sites,
yeah.
you know who they go for? The Hispanic guy who works his butt off and does everything. Like,
Yeah.
they will go for him
I don't know.
because he works his butt off. That's why. That's why they do those things. It's not
Mhm.
because, oh, well, I should pick the white guy because he's white. No, they pick the person who's going to get them the quickest amount of money, the fastest, and the safest, and do it correctly. Because then
Mhm.
they don't have lawsuits, they don't have workplace injuries and accidents.
Because, as we said, what we want is the best person for the job, regardless of their identity categories. So we don't say someone who isn't a straight white man is impossible that they are better. It's just that if you specifically target the minority as your sole recruitment grounds, you miss out on the majority of the best people, assuming they're evenly distributed across a population.
If you had 50% of every population ethnicity as the
That's-
best, then you're going to always have more of whatever the larger number is.
Yeah.
And if they're the
So
ones
let's say-
applying, then
Let's
they're
say
going to get the job.
90% is white, right? Just as an example.
62%, but yes.
Oh, let's not do white. Let's say 90% is majority, and then 10% is minority.
51% is majority, but yeah.
No, the group, the majority group is 90% based on the specific region in the world.
Hypothetical,
wherever you
not
are.
the real world. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So if you then have, let's say you have 10 people, 90% would be 9, 10% 1, so 9 majority people, 1 minority person. Let's say every person has an equal chance of being the best in that group. So obviously you end up with a 90% chance that the best person is one of the majority group, and only a 10% chance the best one is the minority group. If you then pre-select only on the minority group, you have only a 10% chance of getting the best person. Thus, you end up with 90% chance.
And if you
So
don't- if you don't get the
almost
best
all of
person-
the time, not the best person.
And if you don't get the best person, that's going to affect your income. That's going to affect your numbers, your profits.
Mhm.
It's going to affect your quality. It's going to affect how many returns you get. It's going to affect all these things. It's going to
But
affect
this,
your investors.
it's the important thing to remember is that this is only the case if you use DEI hiring practices. So the DEI hiring practices are making sure that people will not trust that someone who isn't part of the majority.
That was
group.
affirmative action. Is like, is the person who's in this position
Mhm.
actually worthy of the position? Did they get the position off
Exactly.
of merit, or did they get this position because somebody like Uncle Sam felt bad for them and shoved them in the position? Like, are they actually able to take care of this? Do you want a nurse taking care of your elderly parents that got the job because Uncle Sam shoved them there out of pity? Or do you want the person who actually knows how to keep your parents alive? Well, you want the
Obviously.
person who takes care of it, unless you're a bigot, and then blah, 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 like
So yeah,
it's stupid. It's so stupid.
The DEI is directly causing the racism.
And the ESG is promoting the DEI.
Exactly.
They've put these characters.
I'm glad we told Emma how to think because she hasn't thought on her own self in a long time. Bees.
In for the sake of wokeness. A woman of colour can't be a complex and interesting character.
Yeah,
She
she
could be
can.
if she was written by a competent, merit-based person.
Mm-hmm.
The irony.
To play. She's just there as a symbol of wokeness. You know what?
Because she's written by the people who are symbols of wokeness. That's literally it. They wrote what they know, which is not an interesting, complex character.
I mean, there's something really, just bigoted and horrible about that sort of perspective. Like, I just don't get it.
Well, you
Yeah,
don't
because
that's
you
the
don't
problem.
get it.
That's the problem here.
You have no
You
idea what
Don't get it because
even the thing
you
is.
Don't even think about these things. Eh?
And your
Just don't get how
conclusion is therefore wrong.
You started with a conclusion and have no way to get there. That's the problem.
You can be so sort of openly horrible.
But we're not.
You have been openly horrible this entire time, Emma. Like, you have called people racist, bigots, homophobes, transphobes, whatever, phobe this, phobe that.
Yeah,
whatever.
I really lost count.
Yeah, all the buzzwords. You've thrown out all the buzzwords because you don't like what I think you should like. And we're not calling you those things if you don't like them. We're calling you those things because definitionally you are those things. You're a bigot because you think it should matter what their skin color is, not what they're actually good at. You think that a person can't, you think a woman and a person of color cannot be the best person because if that was the case, you wouldn't worry about the problem. There would be no need for affirmative action if this was always going to happen. If it was always going to be the best person, well, being the best person means merit. You cannot be the best person if you are not the merit. So you can't be against
not the merit?
meritocracy and say, well, why can't they be the best person? Well, we're saying they can be, but they have to actually apply. Like you can't go to a job, 10 people apply, 10 people are white. Why aren't black people getting the job position? Why aren't Asians getting the job position? Why aren't Latinos and Hispanics getting the job position? Because they didn't apply. If they don't apply, they can't get the job. It's not like you get 10 people who are white and say, you know what? I'm going to go pick a random person off the street who's a minority and give them the job. Like, that's not how that works. And then
Well, it might actually be.
I mean, nowadays, yes. But
Yeah.
like, that one person they pick up the job, what are the percentage chances? What are the odds that that person actually has the qualifications and the merit for that position? Pretty slim.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not how randomness works. RNG is not a kind thing.
It's really not, no. Especially not when you're playing XCOM.
Not when you're playing any MMO.
I guess.
Will almost always create a mediocre product.
Yeah.
Will almost always. There are exceptions to that rule. He even admits that. But he's not wrong either.
DEI ensures less competent employees will be hired on for the job.
That's not true.
It is. Because they're
Actually,
not
this is the
being
part
hired
that
for
we
merit.
already discussed at the very beginning.
I know. I'm just pointing out that it is very true.
Okay. fair
Just
enough.
because a company is not prioritizing straight white men.
No, but
Gaslighting,
they are
strawmen,
prioritizing non-straight, non-white,
the amount of fallacy.
non-men.
We got what? We've had Poison the Well, we've had Strawman.
Oh yeah, I don't know what they were called.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're pulling all the fallacies. Like she's gaslighting.
Yeah,
us,
sure,
showing
but I'm not
us.
sure what all the fallacies are called.
Because no one, I've not heard a single person go and say, "Man, this game's woke because it doesn't have straight white men in it." Never heard a single person ever even contemplate or argue that point, ever.
Doesn't mean that they will be hiring people less competent. This is so.
If you're hiring because of affirmative action, you are
You are.
hiring not based on competency, but off of skin color. That's
Yes.
literally how that works.
So yeah, you end
The
up with less
chances of
competent
that
people.
person being competent is still there, but it is also
But
very,
it's
very
much lower.
small. It's much slower.
We discussed this, right? 10% in the hypothetical example.
Upsetting. And I come from a
You are upset by everything that shocks your worldview. Yes, I'm aware.
male-dominated industry, right?
I'm not a woman. I'm a handsome lady. That makes sense. I'm not a woman. I do eyeliner just like ladies.
Sure.
You're-
Yeah.
You're being everything that you want to be, I suppose. But you're always upset because you're a liberal white woman. Go figure.
I worked in VFX. Very male dominated.
Sure.
And you made it. Did you make it because you were good at your job, or you made it because they put you there because they needed representation and you suck at your job? Which one is it?
Especially in the senior roles. Part of it is
Because they've been there longer. Wow. It's almost like women didn't get into these areas of fields until more recently. Why would a senior worker or senior officer or executive producer, whatever the frick they are, up senior management, why would they be a majority women? Well, they wouldn't be in a good environment. If they are in a bad environment, that means they're pulling them from other areas and different industries and yanking them over, like what Ubisoft and all those guys do, where they pull like a shoe guy. Like Disney's pulling like people from the shoe industry and being like, you'd be a great executive on the board here.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how this works.
in training and education, right? Without knowing that they can be in these industries, without seeing women in these industries to look up to, it's harder for young women, it's harder to encourage young women into those industries in the first place to become competent. But the problem is that there are all of these women, queer people, people of colour, who are highly trained, talented professionals that don't get opportunities that are given by default to people with a certain level of privilege.
It's not privilege. Okay, is privilege actually doing your homework and knowing your skills? Because if that's privilege, yes, you should be putting people in privilege.
Right,
If
so I
it's
don't have
not,
privilege then.
You don't.
No one made my homework for me.
Well, I mean, somebody did make your homework for you. That's how you got your homework. Yank!
Yeah, but making homework is different than making homework, right?
No?
Yes.
The idea that straight white
Again, gaslighting. No one cares about straight white men.
men of a certain age are...
You know what? We're going to do this at 2x speed because she speaks really low.
Sure. That's the wrong. Yeah, you need to go down.
I'll do
1.5, sure.
We'll do 1.5.
Are all the ones that are competent and have worked hard over the years. And if a company employs like an even gender split, then those women were all chosen just for being women, and they're
Possibly, but
Yeah.
it's all based off of credentials. We ask you for your credentials. How'd you get this job? Well, I was a brick mason worker, and then now I work in the visual effects department. How'd that work? I don't know. Some guy just came up in his suit and said, "Hey, bugger, you want a job in visual effects? You fit the minority description that is required by my business." You're like, "Okay, governor, you give me a good pay, I'm your man. And I'm here. And I'm black."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he thought
I
it
was
straight
wondering
like
where
that.
this was going.
So I mentioned I'm a transgender woman.
going to be incompetent and not like, excuse me, why would you assume that a diverse workforce is less? That's just being racist and sexist.
We've already covered this. You're
Because
the
it
one
depends on the population of applicants. If you
Yes, and
have
people with criteria, yes.
if you have a field where the majority of new people are male, and you have a workplace where 50% are male and 50% female, then you have overrepresentation of females based on the population from where you can choose, right? And thus, a bunch of them must have been there just because they're women, not because they're good.
If I go to Africa and I look for the highest position in government that I could possibly go in Africa, specifically under Black Africa, not white Africa,
Sure, yeah.
and going to them and saying, "I need the highest paid, best job you can give me that I don't need to be a naturalized citizen for," and I get that position because I applied, I'm a minority, and I am not basically anything of these other things, and you must do it. Otherwise, you're a bigot, racist, homophobic, misogynistic, blah, 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 blah. They're not going to give me the job.
Unless they have a similar program.
Unless they have this, like, white savior complex where they're like, he's a white person, he will save us all, or some nonsense like that. Like, unless that happens, I'm not getting that job.
Mhm.
I don't have the qualifications for that job. I shouldn't get that job. Would I like to pay? Sure. Will it be a good? No, it would not be a good match. She doesn't understand this.
Better
Also,
like, see,
another thing she doesn't understand is that men and women have different interests, right? Just in
Why aren't
general.
more women in STEM? Because they don't.
Yeah,
want to be in STEM.
exactly. So obviously, most people in the engineering, let's say, it's going to be mostly men. So if you put like a 50% cap on, you must have 50% women. It doesn't work because there are only very few women, and so you have to hire all of the women in the field that get training. And some of them are just not going to be as good as the other women. Whereas with the men, you have a much larger population to choose from. And so if you choose only the top of the men, you generally have a higher average skill level than the women, because the women are with less, and thus the average is spread lower because you have to take more of the lower qualified ones. It's just simple math.
Okay, to be fair, math is not really that simple.
No, but this is really very simple.
It is, but when you're a white liberal woman, you don't comprehend that beyond which your echo chamber has demanded of you.
Fair enough.
a workforce that is more racially diverse and assuming that the people of colour aren't as highly skilled as the white people, that's just racism. Doing that for gender, that's just sexism. It's gross.
The same happens here. So, racial groups generally, at least nowadays, are also culturally divided. And different cultures have different values, and so they will choose
because
different
the culture
types
will move into a
of
homogeneous
jobs.
territory, and they will not assimilate.
Exactly.
That's why. That's why there's problems.
That's why you have the Asians, who all do very well in probably they're all pushed into the medical field
Because they assimilate.
because well they still have the
How else can they
subgroups,
become
right?
the new white man?
Good point. But so the Asians, you see them much more in the medical fields. I don't know about any other groups if they have any specific preference for specific fields. But Germans, for example, Germans you probably find more in the engineering, maybe, and that sort of thing. So
they have to prepare for war.
So yeah, for example, so in engineering, it's mostly Germans. So if you then say, oh, we need this many black people, they might not be German, right? So they miss the German drive to go engineer stuff. I guess they do that. So then obviously you have less black people than the population of black people representative of your total.
Yeah.
You end up with, if you then say we want as much black people as the population percentage, the Germans get pushed out, but they might be the best in engineering. Thus, your quality will lower.
Industries, in terms of getting employment, is that there are way more qualified people than jobs. And
that's not true of most industries, actually.
It's
It's actually the opposite. There are more unqualified people by far than there are qualified people.
It depends on how you define qualified. So
people who have what you would need bare minimum.
There are probably more qualified people than there are jobs, but there are not as many top people as there are jobs.
Well, I'm saying, like, if you have a job in the cleaning industry, even there, not everyone's qualified. It's a very simplistic job, but it's not everyone's qualified. But there's only a few jobs in that industry. Go to the tech industry. There's only a few jobs, but not everyone's qualified for that job.
Fair enough.
In any industry, every industry specifically in its own right does not have enough jobs for the size of the population to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Even the qualified ones.
Yeah.
So even if there were like 100,000
that's what we're saying, though,
people,
isn't it?
and there was 10 jobs available, it doesn't matter. But the point is that you don't just go pick these random couple ones because of diversities.
No, you pick the top ones.
You pick the top ones because you want to do the best. You want to be better than your opposition. that used to give benefits to people to pull them away from other jobs and snipe them and everything. That's
Exactly.
the whole point.
Yeah.
The problem that diversity and inclusivity hopes to solve is the majority of those jobs going to people of certain races, etc. It's
That doesn't solve anything, but yeah, okay.
not that there's all of these competent white people, and then we've got to hire some black people who don't know what they're doing. Like, that's insane.
That's what they do. Not just black people, but they do that. That's what affirmative action literally does.
Yeah, but see, the thing here is, it's not just some random black people, right? It's black people that have some qualifications in the same direction as the job, but
Maybe.
usually, right? I mean,
imagine being a college kid and being like, well,
But
I'm
the
gonna get
problem
affirmative
is-
action so I don't have to actually work my butt off to
the
do it.
problem is that once they get to the point of, oh, we have this many white people, we need some black people, the chances that you end up with the best in the field, if you only look at a small subset of the population, becomes much smaller.
We've had to hire this Asian woman who doesn't know what she's doing just for the diversity points. Of course not. You've got a huge pool of talented people who have the qualifications.
You can't say talented. You can't say talented or skilled because you don't believe in merit. Because merit would bypass all of your complaints. Literally instantaneously. So why do you keep saying this? You're destroying your own argument immediately.
Exactly. So by the way, I also hate to do this, but it's getting really fucking late
Yeah, we
over
might have to
here,
do a part 2 of this one.
and we're
Or part
only
3,
like
part 4.
1/3 through. So
Yeah.
Whew.
Can you hang on for like 5 minutes?
sure, 5 minutes would be doable.
I'll try to. Let's at least end this part and get to the character not hot enough.
Sure, yeah.
It's actually probably less than 5 minutes. It's only 2-3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You have the skills, you have the background. DI equals incompetence is just pure bigotry. It's just
No.
racist.
You are
DI is racist, yes.
Yeah.
It's just racist.
Racist, bigotry, misandric, misandrous, blah, 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 all the things.
It's just sexist. There is no other way of looking at that.
DI
It's
is also
crazy.
sexist.
So this is just
And it's
factually
also
wrong,
racist,
and
yes.
You can't say factually wrong when you've been nothing but factually wrong pretty much the entire video.
It is factually right. It's just statistics. That's how it works.
Statistics can't be racist.
Exactly.
They-
Well,
They can't. They're numbers. They're the results of what they find.
manipulated statistics can be,
Well, yeah, those aren't statistics.
but those aren't true statistics. Yes.
Yeah, well, they're not statistics. It's the same thing. You have a scientist doing science,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have scientism.
Fair
You
enough.
manipulate the outskirts. So if you're
Mhm.
putting in the data and the data pops out, nothing's been fudged with, that's just statistics. If
Yeah.
you put it in there with it being fudged, that's not statistics. By
Actually,
definition.
that's not called a statistic. It's just basic mathematics.
I'm going to guess that it doesn't come from any kind of looking at studies, looking at industry breakdowns, looking at who.
You haven't tried.
No,
it, you wouldn't
it's-
know. That's why.
It's basic mathematics. You don't need studies for this. Just even the tiniest bit of logical reasoning.
I have
is
an
enough.
idea. I'll tell you after the video.
Okay.
The employees of these companies that make bad games actually are. The reason that games are bad most of the time is because of investors, production companies, etc. It's a top-down thing.
Investors.
We need to make money, so we need to.
That invest based on ESG and DEI. Wait a minute.
Extortion. What?
This could be linked.
Somehow.
Released by this date, but we also want to save money, so we're not going to hire people. It's not the fact that companies hire women that makes games bad. Because women.
If the women
No.
are not qualified.
It's because they hire
Why did you
women
say the women's?
that
Oh god.
that don't know what they're doing. They're hiring the wrong women, not the actual good ones.
Don't know how to.
She's one of the good ones.
That is just
With
crazy.
good ones, I mean the actual skilled ones, right?
More time will be spent on hitting the woke criteria throughout every aspect of the game.
Why would it
Yeah.
take woke points?
Because
aka why
that's
would
what
you
the
do it?
investors do that you just talked about.
She's not very awoke.
People of color and queer relationships and stuff. What's that taking time away from?
From making
Plot.
good gameplay.
From actual characteristics that we want to actually know and understand and care about. Like, you can't say because a queer person exists, therefore everybody else who plays this game cares about that. Not by a long shot. Most people don't even care about romance relationships between straight people. Why would they care even a blip about any non-straight people in terms of just romance options? like having a queer character that has a queer part in to play because their queerness comes into play in the story, but they're not inherently
works.
just I'm queer. That's not what people are going to complain about. People are going to complain about when all they are is just dustborn. Like that's literally it.
That's just so bizarre. That doesn't
It's all bizarre.
mean anything. Like, oh, we're going to improve the gameplay, but instead we put two men kissing.
Yeah.
They do that. It's existed in games. Look at two men kissing. You just took screen time from good gameplay. That's the how that works.
That's not what's happening. That's not.
You don't even know half of the stuff that people are commenting on, and you're saying it's not happening. You're not informed to know this.
Real.
I mean, I would say, Sage, you and I, who do pay attention to stuff, probably aren't ultimately informed enough to make a blanket
Probably,
statement
yeah.
claim.
I don't know everything that happens.
I mean, I do, but that's a different story.
Okay, yeah.
Fuck, dude, this is actually kind of upsetting.
In other words,
Daddy, look.
Oh boy.
Look, Daddy.
My kid, everyone. Sorry. Anyway, as we were,
woke ideologies are the priority of development. Taking
Sure. A citation needed. November Hotel says it.
I need a citation for everything you say.
It's
because
not
everything you've said
see-
has been wrong.
The thing is, sure, he said it. Sure, he might be needing citations, but the point is, games are bad if they do this, if they prioritize
He's a
the
man on
ideology.
I would argue he has cited things. He's picked out games that
Oh,
have
sure,
those
he has,
stories
but-
and paths, and then him saying this is not good, and then showing that it was provably not good
Fair enough,
because it
yeah.
failed horribly, is citation. He didn't. Now he could go into the details of like this is the person in charge of the product, and then it went down the chain. Like that's Madame Savvy stuff. Madame Savvy would break this down, and Madame
Sure.
Savvy would obliterate all of this basically. So, not everybody's Madame Savvy, so you can't stick everyone to this standard. But
Mhm.
if he knows something, he can cite it. But you didn't ask him to cite anything. But he's citing things that he's already including in the video. So what more does he have to cite?
Who knows?
So I believe him.
precedent over game design.
You're saying something on the internet, and you're a woman, so why should I believe you? That's a dumb argument, but okay.
In its traditional sense. Let's just take a look at a few of these woke flops of 2020.
This is so indicative of the mindset that I'm like I was trying to describe earlier, where if you're like a
You don't have a mindset. That's the problem.
certain type of person with a certain level of privilege, you view yourself as the default. So like making
You view yourself as the default, Emma. Are you
Mhm.
not paying attention to what you're saying?
Because, of course, equality seems like oppression to people with privilege.
Basically.
games
This is
starring
exactly what she is feeling right now. She feels oppressed because, oh, we're pointing out that the DEI is actually bad.
The thing that would get her a job is the thing that she wants to protect and maintain, where anybody who's looking for actual talent would bypass that. Now, I'm not saying I've never said anything stupid. I'm sure you could go back in the videos
Yeah.
that we made on this channel that are probably not the best takes because I didn't have my mind set on what woke was or something of that nature. I mean, I'm sure Sage has said stupid stuff too.
I've probably said stupid
There's
things, yeah.
There's no probably. There's a guaranteed yes.
Yeah.
We all have. That's not the problem. The problem is she doesn't even try to inform herself. I would say Sage and myself, and even Matt to some extent, and other people that we've had on, have tried
Even
to
Matt,
improve.
yes.
Well, Matt is a knowledgeable guy and everything, and we have disagreements on stuff, but
Mhm.
occasionally comes around on things. We love him still, but we at least try to do better, so to speak.
Mhm.
The do better senator thing.
Do better, yes.
The DEI ESG nonsense of television, and she has the gall to sit there and say that doesn't exist. It does. It clearly does. But we at least will say, let me try to do better. Now, I could eat my words, and she comes out in a video later down the road, and she's like, I need to change what I said because blah, blah, blah. And she pulls what's-her-face that ended up getting with Chris Ray Gun. Lacey
Who?
Green or whatever?
Never heard of that person.
Okay, it's probably before your time. But back in the olden days, Lacey Green worked for, I think, MTV or something, and she was a hardcore leftist. She still kind of is a leftist, but she went like a turnabout 180 degrees and just went the opposite direction and was like, I'm still leftist, but I realized that all these people aren't actually sexist. They're not all actual misandrists or misogynists. They're not all bigots. They're not all these things. I was just led to believe this by people and was fed constant slop telling me that it was, but in reality, that's not the case. So she might pull a Lacey Green, and it might be a totally different, turnaround. And I'd be like, yeah, she has grown. At this point, though, I can't say that. So that's
Yeah.
a
We're not
problem.
all Californian, right?
None of us are Californian because Californians
Exactly.
aren't real people because they're commies. But yeah,
Fair
Straight
enough.
white men, straight white men in their 30s is the default, and doing anything else takes extra
I feel attacked.
time and effort because women, people of colour, queer people, they're all different from the.
Yes, Emma,
No,
you're
no,
the
see-
reason I can't do better in life.
We're not
You
against
you
women or
have
people
come
of
and
color
hunt down every
We just
single
want them
job
to
I've
be
tried to work at.
authentically represented, not forced in because of DEI.
She hunts down every job I've ever applied at and then tries to take over my job position. She is the
Damn.
reason. That's the reason I can't do good in life. That's why I'm angry at white liberal women. Oh wait. No, it's white liberal women who have ruined my life by firing me because I'm not a girl. Like, oh my gosh.
Whew.
Nor.
She's the HR that's the problem. HR in general is a problem.
So you have to put some special extra effort into writing their stories, designing their characters. That's just
Yes, because we don't want your experience, we want the experience of the character. A character that is not you, the writer. That requires extra effort.
crazy.
Starting with Conquer. Remove
Conquer. I love
Conquer.
it. So good. Conquer, yes.
Removing all the wokeness for a second, the game was average on its own. A game that didn't bring a whole lot of new things to the hero shooter genre, keeping simple game modes and basic gameplay, a terrible pricing model. Yes, Conquer made many mistakes in that regard.
Yep, so everything that you mentioned earlier, it didn't do well because it didn't really add anything new to the genre. It had
You know nothing about the situation you're commenting on this. Oh my gosh.
a terrible monetization package. But actually, it was the wokeness that destroyed it.
But there was
That's where we're gonna pause for that. But yes, that is exactly what did a number on that one. So this is gonna be part one, guys. Hopefully,
One
hopefully a
of
part
3
two,
or what?
but it's
Fuck.
probably up to 4 at the rate we're going. But hopefully we don't have to recover and redo everything that she says, because the ultimate point I could walk away with just from this first part of these 23 minutes is that she's gaslighting with the best of them. She's poisoned the well from the very beginning, so she's already primed her audience, which probably isn't exactly built on a whole bunch of people who are intelligent to begin with, but that's besides the point. They're not critical thinkers. But she's already told them, like, you cannot like these people because these are their characteristics, and we don't like those characteristics. Those are bad characteristics.
Mhm.
Because that's how we should operate. What? I just
Yeah.
recognize if
That's
you
a bit.
look at this, look at the screen real quick.
Which screen?
The video.
The video where we're looking to Concord or the
Yeah, the Concord part.
person.
Look at the mag switch.
the mag search?
Anything stand out to you?
Well, that she's holding it like this.
Yeah. That is not how
Um,
you do a mag. Oh, that's a weird way to do it, but okay. Anyway, sorry, that was just random. I just noticed that. And I'm like, what the frick is this noise? Anyway, the point being is that she poisons the well, gets everyone primed to automatically not believe November Hotel or anybody in general who is anti-woke-ish.
Mhm.
And I say ish because there's anti-woke and there's anti-woke adjacent. I would say I'm anti-woke adjacent because I don't see everything as anti-woke anymore. I see.
You
what's
mean you don't
actually-
see everything as woke anymore?
No, I'm saying, like, I can tell the difference between a queer character and a character that's queer.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like, I can tell the difference between this character happens to have this trait that they're known for in their personality or whatever.
Yeah, but then you
But
don't
it's
see
not all
everything
about
as
them.
woke, not as anti-woke.
No, I'm saying I am anti-woke adjacent because
Yeah.
anti-woke people see everything, the slightest thing, like Baldur's Gate 3 is woke, is what an anti-woke person
Yeah,
is.
but you said you see them as anti-woke,
Okay, sure, whatever.
so
Whatever you say.
I was correcting you a bit.
I'll take the L if that's what I said. I don't remember saying that, but I probably did.
Well, you can
Whatever.
see it on the video.
Whatever. Again, like I said, I don't care. Anyway,
Fair.
then she goes out and sets up the straw man saying, it's all because they're not straight white men. It's all because they're women. It's all because they're women. That's never been the argument. It's never,
It's not.
it
Yeah.
never will be the argument. You would have a hard time finding anybody of actual note, like somebody who's big in the list of the anti-woke era,
Mhm.
and be like, we don't want them gosh darn women in our positions, and we don't want to play them stuff in television and games and all that stuff. And you're not going to find those people because they don't exist.
Mhm.
They all say this character was
Because
horribly
let's be
made.
honest, we actually really like female main characters if they are
Stellar
done
Blade.
well.
To be. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I'm thinking of more older ones like Samus, Zelda.
Yeah, Samus,
Zelda's
Zelda,
not main character, of course, but
Princess Peach.
yeah,
Like there are good female characters. It's just
Aerith
not.
maybe.
I mean, we don't speak about her because she doesn't live very long. Come on.
Well,
Get it together, man. Jeez, what's wrong?
that's fair enough.
What's
I
wrong
guess.
with you? You picking the ones who get murdered? Really? Really?
No.
Is that like your fantasy? Is killing women? Is that why you're big on that?
No.
You bigot. But anyway, setting the straw man and then saying that's our argument. That's not our argument. Then gaslighting to boot the entire thing, saying that hey, this is what they're wanting. No, that's not what we're wanting. Like you're priming your audience. You're giving them the wrong argumentation, and you're shoving everything in that direction. That's a you problem, Emma. That's not a us problem. And you're never going to watch this, so I'm not even going to imply that you would even have the potential to do so. You're not going to watch this, so whatever. But at least your people who watch your videos should have enough of a critical brain cell to be able to think, now that he mentions it, she is kind of doing this stuff. And like maybe that's not the best stance she could have had. Maybe I should be like, hey Emma, why not? You might turn extremely base because she's probably gonna freaking ban the crap out of you. But at least you could be like, let's push back a little bit because that's not the actual argumentation. But if you're stuck in the echo chamber, I'm sorry, you're done for unless you get yourself out. There's no one's coming to save you.
Mm-hmm.
People have tried.
You can lead a
walk-
horse to water,
You can't make it
but
drink.
you can't make it drink.
Press X to doubt. Sorry. But yeah, that's where we're gonna go for this, guys. Sorry. Saliva went down the wrong pipe.
All right,
Um,
22 minutes of video done.
23
Well,
minutes.
23.
Yes. So, to everybody who is hanging out, thank you for hanging out. You are appreciated. I know it's a long one, kind of going back to slightly long form content, but I feel slightly productive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah,
Now we actually can do a thing without technical issues.
yes, we can do things that we were trying to do like a month ago, but we couldn't because technical issues. But now we got the technical issues dealt with. Besides my son showing up randomly.
Yeah.
But
Should
yeah.
really program that better.
I know I really should. I need an editor is what I need. But yeah, hopefully this will be part 1. You guys check out probably next week for part 2. Hopefully the end. But I mean, now that we can do it at 1.5 speed, we could go a lot faster in this. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we could have done that from the beginning.
I didn't think about it. I'll be honest.
Yeah, neither did I.
I normally don't because I want to hear everything at their pace and I can just comment on it. But now that it popped in my head, it's like, it's taking a really long time. Maybe we could just speed it up a bit. So, but yeah, thanks everybody. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun jazz. If you like what we're doing and all that fun jazz, and maybe we'll have some more content coming out quicker. Maybe have some intermediate ones. I have a little bit more free time for the next couple weeks. So maybe I can come up with some stuff. Yes, you do. Don't lie. Anyway, thanks, Sage, for hanging out. I know it's a lot of work for you to just sit there and speak your mind, but
yes,
it's very difficult.
Truly tiring.
The liberal
tiring
communists
work.
that are the women communists that are over you definitely keep you on a short leash. So, but yeah, thanks everybody. Remember, my friends, walk in the light.
Farewell.